ago at Pocono International Raceway that Bobby Allison, on the initial lap, radioed his crew chief, Jim Fennig, that he had cut a tire and would come in to change it. But tragedy intervened halfway around that 2.5-mile track. From an artist's rendering, there was no footage. Here's what happened to the 1988 Daytona champion and two-time winner here that has left Bobby Allison fighting for his life. On lap 1, Allison and car 12 had a tire going flat, causing the racer to spin in turn 2. Trailing Allison were Jimmy Means in car 52, Bob Shatt in car 16, and Giacomo Giacomo in car 63. As Allison spun, Means and Shatt were able to avoid him. Usually, when a car spins on turn 2 at Pocono, it spins toward the infield, so Giacomo took his car high to avoid Allison. But Allison spun and then went across the track, bouncing off the outside retainer. It was at this point that Giacomo's car, at close to 130 miles per hour, crashed into the driver's side of Allison's car. The impact moved the driver's seat to the right side of the car. Allison was taken from the car, helicoptered to a nearby hospital, suffering from a concussion, fractured ribs, abdominal injuries, a broken shoulder, and a badly broken left leg. Doctors drained fluid from his chest, relieved pressure in his skull, and stabilized internal bleeding. He has been semi-conscious and responding somewhat to verbal commands. His son, Davey, finished the Pocono race in 5th place. This week at the Michigan Speedway, he spoke to me about the accident, an accident that brought to mind an incident last year when Bobby Allison was much more fortunate.
I thought Talladega was the worst thing I'd ever been through, but at Talladega he crawled out of the car and he gave me the okay sign. And I was hoping he'd be able to do that at Pocono, but after the first time I came by, I knew he wasn't going to be able to do that and that he was hurt bad. And I wanted so badly to get out of that car and go over there and be with him, but I knew if I got out of that car I wouldn't be able to get back in it, and I made myself drive away from it. And when I came back around the next time, the track safety crew was there working on him, and I asked someone if he was okay, and they told me that he was breathing, which was the first positive sign. The next time I came by, they were working on his chest, and I don't know exactly what they were doing, but I think it was 4 or 5 times we came by there before they finally had him out of the car and on the stretcher. And then the next time we came around, he was gone to the infield medical center, and then I saw the helicopter leave. Probably the toughest time of my life, not knowing what to do and having to regain control of my emotions inside the car. And I knew that he would want me to go on and do my job and do the best I could, and that's what I had to do, and I did it.
When you got to the hospital and you saw your dad for the first time, what was your reaction?
First reaction was naturally sadness, but also the fact that, you know, he was alive gave me pleasure, and the fact that there was a possibility that things could go the other way, you know, that's just something we all have to deal with sooner or later. I think probably the most gratifying thing that could ever happen to a person is when something like this does happen, to see all the support from everyone around the country, not just family and not just close friends, but everybody, that it makes you understand that, well, maybe we have lived our lives right, and that's what it's all about.
We have been in touch with the Lehigh Valley Hospital Center in Allentown, PA, on Bobby Allison's condition just moments ago. He continues to lapse in and out of consciousness, but he's able to answer doctors' questions with hand signals. The doctors asked if his left leg was hurting. He answered yes this morning. They asked if he'd like to be sedated, and he again responded yes. However, with hand signals, he made it very clear that he wanted to be awake in time to watch today's race and watch his son, and the doctors are planning to wake him just as the race starts. Bobby, get better. As for Davey Allison, after spending 4 nights sleeping in a waiting room on a couch about 30 feet from his father's door, he is back in harness, as you see here, and he is qualified 3rd for today's race. Now, for some viewers, Davey's decision to continue, he finished 5th last Sunday, may seem a little hard-hearted, a little difficult to understand. No one can speak to that better than the 2-time Winston Cup champion whose own son is in this race, Ned Jarrett.
Ken, I'm sure there are some people that feel that that might have been a cold-hearted decision, but I don't think so. These are loving, caring people, and no two people care more for each other than Bobby and Davy Allison. But they've chosen a profession where there are risks involved, and they know that up front. And so sometimes their commitment has to override the kinship, especially in a case where Davy could do nothing for his dad but pray, and he could do that in the race car. Bobby Allison would have wanted him to stay in that race car. In fact, I think if he had gotten out when Bobby was able to speak to him, I think he would have scolded him.
Let's talk about today's race for just a moment. 400 miles, $500,000. It's always one of the best races we cover on CBS.
I think we will see some super competition here today. We predicted at Daytona back in February we would see a lot of different winners this year because there are so many potential winners. Already there have been 10 in the first 13 races. Dale Earnhardt is not at the top of the heap this year for the first time since 1985. Last year he had won 6 races. Coming into here, boy, he is hungry, and watch him go today.
And the man who has unseated him from the top spot is standing by with Mike Joy right now.
Thank you, Ken. Rusty Wallace has 4 top 5 finishes in the last 4 races, including a win. How's it feel to be the guy with the hot hand?
Well, I tell you, Mike, it feels awful good right now, and I hope we can just keep it up. 2 more races to be the halfway point. Everybody knows there's a big bonus at Daytona. So if we can keep the togetherness this team's always had and keep pulling like we've been working, I think we can pull it off.
You had the pole here for this race last year. You've won a race here, and the momentum is with you.
That sure is. You know, I've had the pole last year, and the car's run exceptionally well for this race. And so far, everything's looking good. I'd just like to say hello to the Kodiak people, and hello to Bobby Allison sitting back there in his bed watching us. We're pulling for you, buddy. Hope you can get back quick.
Well, the man that Rusty and 40 other drivers will be chasing is a familiar sight on the front row here at Michigan, and Dave Despain is with him.
And a familiar sight in victory lane. Bill Elliott has won 6 of the last 8 on this racetrack. Set a track record yesterday for his 4th pole. You say luck is the only thing that wins you all these races here. Let me ask you something else. Who are the guys you have to beat today?
Well, you know, there's 25, 30 guys back behind me that's capable of winning this race, and you can't count anybody out. It's just going to depend on what the weather's changed today, and you know what we do on tire factor and things of that sort.
A lot of questions to be answered in the next 200 laps. Let's go back now to Mike Joy.
The man who will sit in Bobby Allison's seat today is a former national short track champion and the leader of NASCAR's second circuit, Mike Alexander. A big opportunity for you. You've raced on this circuit before, but heavy load on your shoulders today as well.
Well, it is. You know, the guy that drives this car is a legend, and we just want to make him proud today. The Stavola brothers, Miller High Life, all those people have really been nice to me and wanted to make me feel comfortable, and they've done that. I just hope I can make everybody proud today.
He's a talented young racer and a good choice for this seat.
Stand by for CBS live flag-to-flag coverage of the Michigan 400 on a gray day. The temperature has dropped some 25 degrees. It's perfect for racing. We're with you live at the Michigan International Speedway, 2-mile track, and just about set for the command to fire the engines.
Okay. Here for the traditional forward command is the Divisional Vice President of TGI Fridays, Mr. Nick Galanos.
Gentlemen, start your engines.
In-car camera with Darrell Waltrip, Lake Speed, and Sterling Marlin for today's race. Here's the number 83 of Lake Speed. Back in '85, led this race on 2 occasions. Here's Sterling Marlin, who's put up such a stout battle in the Winston Cup Championships, in the top 5 as we get ready for this race number 14 of the 1988 season. And because of the weather, we have dropped some 25 degrees, a gray, cloudy day. Yesterday in the high 90s. And you can take 25 degrees away, and that's what you have as we get set for a start. They're showing even more than that now in our current weather look.
Actually, Ken, there's about 35 degrees and maybe as much as 40 degrees lower temperatures today than we saw yesterday, and that could have an effect on how the cars will handle because they were set up in the very hot conditions yesterday afternoon.
That's correct, and they're concerned about pushing and being tight, and also these engines are going to take a lot longer to warm up.
Let's now take a look at the starting lineup for the 20th annual Michigan 400. In row number 1, the 3-time winner, Bill Elliott, and alongside last week's winner at Pocono, Jeff Bodine for Rick Hendrick. In row 2, it's Davey Allison, one of 3 that broke the old track record in qualifying, and Darrell Waldrop. Going to row number 3, there you find the leader in the Winston Cup standings, Rusty Wallace, and alongside, look at him, up there in the 6th position, Alan Kowicki from Wisconsin. Row 4 is Eddie Bierschwale, 7th position, best he has ever qualified, and the 1980 winner of this event, Benny Parsons. In row number 5 is the defending winner of the Michigan 400, Dale Earnhardt, and alongside from Midland, Texas, Bobby Hillin Jr. In row 6, it's Ken Schrader and Mike Alexander subbing for Bobby Allison. Going to row 7, there you find Mark Martin out of Arkansas, and Combs has his best qualifying to date with car number 97. Going to row 8, Sterling Marlin, number 44, and Brett Bodine in the Bud Moore 15. For row 9 this afternoon, Kyle Petty and Texas Terry Labonte driving for Junior Johnson. In row 10, it will be Rick Wilson out of Florida and Neil Bonnet still mending himself from a bad crash. Row 11 is Buddy Baker, the 79 winner, and Lake Speed, one of our in-car cameras. Going to row 12, Morgan Shepherd is there, and the 1974 winner, Richard Petty. In row 13 is Derek Cope out of Spanaway, Washington, and from California, Joe Ruttman. For row 14, it'll be David Soseby from down in Georgia, and the 6-time winner, Cale Yarborough, as the field makes ready to move onto the track. In row 15 from California, Ernie Irvan and Buddy Arrington from Virginia. Row 16 today is Ricky Rudd, and alongside Ken Bouchard from Massachusetts. In row 17 will be Dale Jarrett and Michael Waltrip, who finished 2nd last Sunday in Pocono. Row 18 is Phil Parsons and H.B. Bailey. In row 19 is Dana Patton from Enfield, New Hampshire, and Simcoe and car number 51, who hails from handy by Clarkson, Michigan, David Simcoe. Row 20, Dave Marcus out of Wisconsin, and Jimmy Means from Alabama. And the provisional starter on the field, the 21st starter, is Huntington Beach, California's Brad Knopfsinger in car number 98. And all the cars are away as we prepare for CBS live flag-to-flag coverage, one of the most exciting races we cover each year, the Michigan 400. Let's see if we can get a word from Sterling Marlin in car number 44 as we get set for a start. Sterling, CBS Control, Ken Squire to your read us.
All right, fine, Ken.
How is it out there this morning, 15th spot?
Well, we changed a few things on the car this morning. It's pushing yesterday, so we should be in good shape today.
Okay, what tires are you on?
We got on Hoosiers.
We see you're warming them up a little. You're going to run Hoosiers all day?
Yeah, we're going to try to. We'll see how they work.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Sterling. Good luck to you in the Billy Hagan car.
The cars in the field, Ford has the most with 11 cars. Chevrolets have 9. There's 8 Oldsmobiles, 7 Pontiacs, and 6 Buicks in this battle of the brands, only 60 miles in the Motor City.
And in the tire battle that's here today, and that is a story we will be covering.
Yes, there are 13 cars that are starting on the Hoosier tires, 28 on Goodyear. Hoosier, the first 12 are Goodyear accepting a Hoosiers on the outside pole of Jeff Bodine. It wouldn't surprise me, Ken, to see some of them change from Goodyear to Hoosier on the first pit stop, but they do have to change all 4 tires if they change any, but they can change back and forth as much as they want to, but they have to start the race on what they qualified with.
Here are the drivers who failed to qualify. Jay Summers, Connie Saylor crashed, not seriously for Connie, but enough so he didn't make the field. J.D. McDuffie sadly did not make the field, and Jimmy Horton. 6 cars broke the track record in the first day, and then only 3 cars broke the track record officially when we got down to business, led by the 172.6 mile an hour lap that was turned in by Bill Elliott. Field is coming by, and there will be another lap before they turn them loose. The 6 cars that broke the old track record unofficially included the Phil Parsons car was one of those, and Dale Earnhardt had done well with that. Darrell Waldrop had run. Parsons' car, Phil, had done such an outstanding job that he went all the way back to 35th when the temperature changed on Saturday.
Boy, the temperature makes a big difference in qualifying. The cars will run faster today because it's cooler. And 2, Ken, some of them did qualify on the Hoosier tires, thinking that they would be better for the race. They sometimes don't run quite as fast. And for more on that story, the tires, let's go to the pits, Dave Despain.
The swapping of tires, the changing from Goodyear to Hoosier or Hoosier to Goodyear, is a little more complicated for this race because the tires that Goodyear brought are about 2 to 3 inches bigger in circumference than the Hoosiers. And we'll get into the details of why that makes a difference a little bit later. It's one of the big tire questions here today. The other is the weather. The cooler temperatures will reduce tire wear for both brands. Whether it will affect them equally remains to be seen. Let's get another angle on this story that has really dominated Winston Cup racing in many ways this year. It's stolen the thunder of restrictor plates and aerodynamics and all the things we heard about earlier in the year. For more on tires, here's Mike Joy.
Dave, the Goodyear tires acknowledged to be quicker on a 1 or 2 lap or the first few laps of a green flag run, and then its lap times tend to tail off. So most of the cars qualified on Goodyears. Last week at Pocono, Pennsylvania, winner Geoff Bodine and runner-up Mike Waltrip started the race on Goodyear tires and quickly switched over to Hoosiers to run the rest of the race distance. Many teams contemplating that today, and most teams have both brands of tires lined up and ready to go here in the pits, depending on race and atmospheric conditions. Back upstairs.
Thank you, Mike. The reason we're taking this additional lap as we take a look at the track itself, this 2-mile D oval, is that there's been a piece of debris on the backstretch. A wrench fell out of one of the cars in the back straightaway. Hence, we're taking an additional lap before we turn them loose today.
Now, they're not supposed to be carrying wrenches with them.
No, they're not.
There'll be a fine for that.
Yeah, if they can find out who did it.
Yeah.
20 states represented in the 41-car field. It's become a little more cosmopolitan than the good old days, Chris.
I tell you, every single Winston Cup race this year, with the exception of the one at Darlington, has had a sellout grandstand. It's remarkable.
Another lap before they turn them loose as they go out to find this debris on the back straightaway. Wrench out there, we're being told. Here you see Bill Elliott's car scooting by. Purse today, some $540,000. One provisional starter, Knopfsinger. It's 400 miles, and the race record is 153.485. The old record for this track was held by Tim Richmond, and 3 drivers broke that mark in qualifying yesterday. I like the format in Michigan, where they do everything in 2 days, and most of the teams do, too.
Everybody likes that except the motel owners. You know, the pressure today is on Rusty Wallace. There's a $150,000 bonus if he can stay on top of the point standings through next week at Daytona, and that team needs that $150,000. So Rusty's going to have money on his mind when the green flag drops today.
And I think Dale Earnhardt is going to have win on his mind. He hasn't won since at Martinsville, Virginia, back in April, and that's unusual for he and his team. They've become accustomed. They've dominated this circuit for the last 2 years, and he really wants to win badly again.
Let's talk about what happens to the man who sits on the pole for this race. The pole position has not been the favorite starting spot. 84 and 85, Elliott came through from there. Tim Richmond finished up 15th when he sat on the pole. Rusty Wallace was on the pole last year. Then Dale Earnhardt came home victorious. He finished 5th. The successful starting spot is 4th. 6 times this race has been won from the 4th position, and 4 times it's been won from the 3rd starting position. That seems to be the one that you would choose to covet. In that case, who does it favor? Davey Allison today for 1, and the man alongside, Darrell Waltrip, who is still looking for his first victory here in this event.
Now, Waltrip has had a tough time since he switched teams. He didn't think it was going to be this bad. He's borne up well on it. He did win the World 600 in Charlotte this year for his only victory of the year, and he's hungry.
Pace car is in. Ladies and gentlemen, stand by for CBS flag-to-flag coverage. Michigan 400 as Bill Elliott leads them down, and Geoff Bodine pops out in front as they take the stripe. Right where he concluded last Sunday afternoon in Pocono, Pennsylvania. On the outside, Bodine has the lead. Here comes the Ford on the inside back. And car number 9, Bill Elliott, wrestles Bodine in first place, grabs it away from him, coming out of turn number 2. Back straightaway. Elliott is in front, and here comes Davey Allison. This has been a track that over the years seems to have favored Fords, Chris. And let's see if Allison can draw along with Bodine.
That's right. The Ford has more low-end torque, and at this kind of racetrack, you need low-end torque to come out of these sweeping turns, and that's why the Fords have always done a wee bit better than General Motors products on this racetrack.
41 cars coming to full speed, better than 185 miles an hour here in the D-shaped section of the 2-mile track. Elliott first, Bodine second, and Darrell Waltrip's view of those front 3 cars as he holds forth, riding right up against the wall, scoots down in turn number 1, and Rusty Wallace, charging down the inside, goes beneath Darrell Waltrip and takes over in 4th. Also coming along, that looks to be Alan Kulwicki's car number 7. That amazing kid. Now Waltrip fends him off in the back straightaway. Let's go to Lake Speed's car further back in the field. Now there's Morgan Shepherd just in front of car number 83. Kyle Petty there as well, having to step off the pedal, as you could hear momentarily.
How long does it take now to get the tires up to operating temperature?
Well, it doesn't take long to get the Goodyear tires up to operating temperature, but the Hoosier tires need some 5 to 10 laps to
Caution
really
is
get
out.
hot.
Caution is out. We have a car smoking. That is Rick Wilson's number 4, and they also reported debris on the track. Don't know if it may be from the Rick Wilson engine. He blew an engine yesterday in the latter moments of a training period after they finished qualifying, and now once again that Morgan McClure car is having a problem, ailing, and they have a caution out around the speedway.
And Ken, the car is still running. It's possible that he might have blown a fuel filter off, or it could be an oil line or something, and you see that a lot of times on a cool day when they rev the engines up, even though they gave them a couple of extra laps, which should have warmed them up. But I believe that that might be an oil problem rather than a blown engine.
While we have a moment, Judy Allison has asked that we pass along the Allison family's true appreciation for the tremendous outpouring, the public response to Bobby Allison's condition. Cards and letters are pouring into the hospital up in Allentown, PA. They have 5 people now on the board just to answer the phones. Well-wishers from everyone, and Judy indicates, as we watch Darrell Waltrip pulling on pit road here, that she really appreciates all the support that has been given to her and the family. And she says it makes a great deal of strength in helping them cope with the situation. Darrell Waltrip having a little.
And they're changing tires, they're changing brands on that car. This obviously was a planned thing. Waltrip is getting Hoosiers in place of his Goodyears, and he's the only one doing that we can see, and that's sort of surprising. We thought some of the others would take advantage of the first yellow to change makes.
And it could be the cooler temperatures today, Chris, negated some of their thinking. Those that maybe had planned to change. He was in for only about 23 seconds to change all 4 tires. Of course, he'll have to go to the rear of the field now, but more drivers had planned to change just thinking that the Hoosier tires might be better, but we don't know that for sure. And Derek Cope is also in, and he too is changing brands of tires.
And Rick Wilson has retired, gone back to the garage area, first man out of the race. It comes with now 3 laps complete.
There we see Derek Cope's car number 68 pulling out after his change of tires.
Now, if you change tires, there's a big difference, what, 2.5 inches between Hoosier and the Goodyear tire.
Yes, there's about a 3-inch difference in the circumference, about a 1/2 inch difference in the height.
We'll get back to that story in just a moment. Mike Joy is standing by with Jeff Hammond.
And they just made that tire change, Ken. Jeff, quick change to the Hoosiers. Now, that's the move that won Jeff Bodine the race last week.
Yeah, Mike, it really helped Jeff last week, and we worked on the car yesterday on the Hoosier tires, and we had the car pretty much dialed in for the Hoosiers, so the weather may play an important part as far as our decision. May have been a bad one, but we decided this golden opportunity was find out early. We may need to go back the other way.
Now, we've talked about the rear end gearing and the circumference difference with these tires. If you're geared for Hoosiers, if you'd stayed on the Goodyears, how would the car run?
Well, there again, the track today is a whole lot cooler, should be a lot faster, so our gear selection right now is probably going to be maybe a little bit too much for the Hoosiers and just about right for the Goodyears if the weather stays cool. But we really know we're just taking like a gamble right now to see how things go, and we feel like early in the stages of the race we can get an opportunity to see how the Hoosiers are going to run. If the car's not really performing well, we have the opportunity to go back the other way.
Now, that gear choice had to be made this morning. That's the rear-end gear ratio in the car. Once you put that gear in, that's not something you can change easily on a pit stop.
Thank you, Mike. Under caution, they're putting some speedy dry down. Let's take a look at Lake Speed's in-car camera pictures of what could have been a colossal incident here. Here he is. There you see Richard Petty down on the inside in car number 43. Caution is about to come out here. And here you see Morgan Shepherd, who had started just behind Lake. He started 24th, getting sideways, gathers it back up. Wilson is down on the inside in number 4. He's perhaps scattered some oil there. And there's Lake Speed looking very casual at this moment as he continues around this 2-mile track, still ready for more action. Back with more live coverage of the Michigan 400 after this word from your local station. You're looking at some of the infield crowd and the largest gathering ever at Michigan International Speedway. Grandstands, as Chris reported, sold out 2 weeks ago. That's 40,000 seats. And the spacious infield has never had the kind of crowd that it is enjoying here today. It is a gray, cloudy day, temperature into the mid-60s. Some of the drivers wanted to wish Bobby Allison well. Let's take a moment to hear from them.
Bobby, I know we've had a lot of trouble, but I can't think of anybody right now I'd rather see back in a race car.
Get well, Bobby. We hope you come back soon.
Bobby, we hope you're watching. I want to make you proud of me in this race car. Just come home pretty quick.
I hope that you realize that you mean a lot to me and you mean a lot to this sport, and we all love you, we all miss you, and I think that right there says it all, buddy.
Darrell Waltrip, who gave a very touching invocation dedicated to Bobby Allison at the commencement of this race. As the race reconvenes, we are now in lap number 6 with Elliott on the point, Bodine second at the start, then Davey Allison third, Wallace fourth, Earnhardt fifth, Alan Kowicki sixth, Benny Parsons seventh, Schrader in eighth, Bierschwale ninth, Hill in 10th, Mike Alexander into 11th, and Brett Bodine is 12th. Back straightaways, we watch car number 3, the man in black, Dale Earnhardt challenging. Earnhardt was on the phone the night of the incident, talked to Eddie Gossage, who handled the Allison family affairs through this very hard week. And he said, I want to know every day exactly how Bobby is, and you must call me. That's how much he cares. He's been up to see him. Most of the drivers have. And this morning in the drivers' meeting, Davey Allison addressed the drivers and said they are only allowing family to see Bobby. And he said, and all of you, we consider family. Here is Elliott on the point, Bodine still in second.
You know, Richard Petty in only 3 green flag laps has moved up 9 positions, and Darrell Waltrip crossed the line in 35th position after that tire change. Beginning to watch these big names and how they fare today.
And look who's running third. Davey Allison tucked right in there. Another engine looks like it may be smoking up in turn number 4. That could be H.B. Bailey's number 36 that may be coming on the pit road. Meanwhile, watch Davey Allison challenging in third spot. Ford in first, Ford in third, Chevrolet in second, and then number 27, Rusty Wallace leading the points. Remember that he has already won in the last race ever to be run at Riverside, California, as H.B. Bailey pits. Rusty Wallace has won 3 in a row on road courses, and his finishes in the past 4 weeks have been phenomenal, starting at Charlotte. Now let's take a look at car number 28, high side, Davey Allison. Spent 1 night in the hotel, all the other nights in the waiting room.
Boy, that was a bold move, moving up from the outside. He didn't have a lot of room, but his car is really working well, Ken, so he moved right around Jeff Bodine.
Into second, and did you see the nose lift? It looked like it was just gliding there. He had no control of the nose of that car for a moment.
We've got a hot one on our hands, Ken. The leader's averaging 172.9 miles an hour. That's faster than the track record right now.
And we've had more passing thus far in this race than we had in the entire Formula One race last Sunday.
All year.
Rusty Wallace back there in fourth. Intense battle for the lead. Ford, Chevrolet, Pontiac. Dale Earnhardt on the move. 51 comes apart.
That's Dave Simcoe.
That's that runner from here in Michigan. Yeah. Clarkston, Michigan, hoping to have a good day today. Made the field. He said, if we even finish, we're going to consider it a good day. Not a very good day for them.
No, you know, it's interesting. These high speeds, Ken and Ned, are narrowing the groove. Everybody seems to be in one line here. In the past, they used to move up and down and use a variety of grooves, but they seem all to be using the same groove today.
10 laps complete. Replay from Darrell Waltrip's car, number 17, out of the Rick Hendrick stable. That blown engine just now. Put Simcoe away. That's what you don't want, is when they scatter right in front of you.
Boy, that's the truth. And Darrell had to have an anxious moment, but he made the wise choice to go to the outside. Dave Simcoe got the car quickly down on the inside of the track, out of the groove and out of the other driver's way. Here we see Darrell Waltrip inside the car as he's driving. Looks very smooth there at the moment.
11 laps complete. Let's review further back. 11th is now Bierschwale, 12th is Alexander, 13th Bodine, 14th Marlin, 15th Combs, 16th, Mark Martin, and Richard Petty on the move is up into the 17th spot with car number 43. There you see Petty in that cluster of cars. I think one of the touching moments I've seen this weekend was Richard Petty yesterday in the garage area, frustrated, head down, perspiration temperature over 100 degrees in the garage area, trying to figure that car out, talking to Dale Inman, having only 10 minutes left, and a young lady came up and asked if she could have an autograph on her hat. And he stopped, and you could almost see him grimace, and then he smiled and said certainly, and then went on with it. That's the measure of that man in car number 43. Bill Elliott at Michigan International Speedway. You can run 3 or 4 wide here. Is that any fun?
Wow, deep. That ain't too much fun. I could think of other things I'd rather be doing, but still, it's a good racetrack. You know, it's if you're faster than somebody, more than likely you can get around them, and it's a lot easier in that respect than a lot of other places we go to, and that's the reason I like this place.
Battle for the lead continues to develop. Davey Allison is sitting there, just perched on the back end of car number 9, Bill Elliott. He scoots up to the outside in turns 1 and 2. Elliott moves up just a bit, countering. Here you see Bodine running third. Remember that Wallace is in fourth, and Earnhardt, who had started back in the 9th position, has come up to 5th. Alan Kowicki in 6th. Benny Parsons in 7th, and they're having a good day with the Junie Donlevy team. Good weekend.
Well, Gerald Walter was carrying one of our cameras, is not having a good day right now. Either his tires aren't warmed up or the combination isn't working. He's having trouble improving his position. He's way back.
There you see part of this immense crowd. Every seat sold out here at Michigan. And what a battle they're enjoying the early going. Now, 15 laps complete when they come by. 15 complete this time around. Elliott, 3-time winner, 84, 85, and 86, stays in front. Davey Allison, 2-time winner, trying to get onto the winning side of the ledger here in 1988, hugging right with car number 9 as Bodine lies third in the field. Rusty Wallace still maintaining fourth. $540,535 at stake. Race record 153.8 miles per hour. Caution free. August 84. That's the August race. There are 2 races run here. We're going to get you a lap speed right now and see what they're turning for times.
Now, yesterday, Ken, Dale Earnhardt and Rusty Wallace did a lot of drafting with each other on the racetrack. Of course, Wallace running fourth, but Earnhardt can't get up there to him to make the draft really effective. It would be interesting to see what they could do with those 3 in front of them if they could get together.
Davey Allison is hunting for a groove where he might possibly take a shot at the leader, Bill Elliott. He's moving out. He's experimenting now with his car to see where it will and where it won't work. Notice how careful he is, however.
Temperature in the low 60s, humidity 49%. We're changing the jetting some of those carburetors this morning.
42.2, that's 170.6 miles per hour. That's close to the qualifying record that they set here yesterday.
Pressure's on. Here comes Davey Allison to the outside. A touch higher that time. Now swings to the inside through the dummy. Tries to come down to the bottom of the racetrack. Pulls back in behind. 3 cars running nose to tail at better than 185 miles per hour. Live on CBS, the coverage of the 20th annual Michigan 400.
Man, what's Jeff Bodine thinking watching those 2 Ford drivers go at it right in front of him?
Well, I'm sure that he's amused to some degree. He likes to see them racing that hard because he knows that the chances are better that they're going to wear their equipment out quicker when they're racing that hard. And the fact that he's able to stay right there with them has to be pleasing to him as well.
You got to have a lot of confidence in the fellows alongside of you or directly in front of you to stay that close when they're doing what they're doing right there as Allison moves to the top to try and get by Elliott, and that's what he does.
Davey Allison on the high side. Takes the Harry Ranier car up into first place. Here comes Allison back for turn 3. Elliott will be there.
Well, it did take a lot of confidence for Davey Allison to move up on the outside and pass Bill Elliott, but it didn't last very long. Elliott said, no, this is my racetrack. I've won more races here than anyone else in the last several years, and I want to stay out front.
The Thunderbirds continuing to roar up in front. Bodine now pulling just a little closer. And there you see Wallace maintaining fourth. What a run Wallace has had. Second at Charlotte, third at Dover, then first out of Riverside, California, third last week at Pocono. Look at this battle once again. Here comes Davey Allison trying another time on the outside.
But look at Elliott, and Jeff Bodine is helping Bill Elliott push right on by, and he's going to take second as a result of the draft.
Can you imagine Bobby Allison watching this back in the hospital in Pennsylvania?
Hope you're enjoying it, Bobby.
Davy's car is really working well on that outside, and he don't mind sticking it up there, even though it's a little bit risky.
Back in 5th is Earnhardt. In 6th remains Parsons. Going 7th, Kowicki. 8th, Labate. 9th, Schrader. 10th is Bierswale. It's for the lead. Whole story right here. Elliott now leading by the biggest margin anyone has had in the race. 4 car lengths. 20 laps complete this time by.
A couple of drivers are having a good race. Benny Parsons is in 6th. He's had a bum year. Best finish has been a 13th, and Eddie Bierschwal is still in the top 10. He can't believe he's running up there with the leaders after such a troublesome trialing early start period for this youngster from Texas.
Well, Buddy Parrott is the crew chief on that car. Of course, Buddy has been around for a long time, knows how to set a car up, and has really got the car number 23 running well for Eddie Bierschwal.
Richard Petty, 24th, now to 13th.
Elliott's car owner, Harry Melling, lives in nearby Jackson, has a big party for the racing gang every year, and a great number of the fans here are rooting for Elliott. Ned, what does a hometown support like that mean to a guy at the wheel?
I think it's sort of like college basketball or any other sporting event. When you go to your home court or your hometown to play whatever it is you're playing, I think that it helps a little bit. I think it gets the adrenaline to flowing a little bit better, and you make a little more preparation, even though they try to win every race that they possibly can. I think it helps though.
The front 4 cars have been caught up by the second group. Well, now we have a 10-car draft for the lead. Terry Labate has come from 18th to 8th. We'll be back with more live coverage shortly. Davey Allison, who has said, I am as determined about this as anything to win here today for my father, has taken the lead. He took the lead in the 22nd lap. Rusty Wallace has come to second. Bodine is third. Here is a replay of the pass for first place by Davey Allison.
Notice all race long, Davey was trying to get by Elliott on the outside. Now here, he changes his tactics and moves to the low side of the track and makes it work. You can see it. Slick driving, right, Ned?
Yes, the car is working very well. When he can move on the outside as he did earlier and then change and pass on the inside, that means that the chassis is really set up on that car number 28.
And that's how Davey Allison takes the lead, and Bill Elliott, meanwhile, has dropped back to 4th place with Rusty Wallace second and Jeff Bodine third.
Back with the live action now as we watch Benny Carson's car being rolled back behind the wall. Parsons going back behind the wall. Looks like he may be the second car out of the event officially.
He was running in 6th position before he had the problem. Benny's really had a tough year with Junie Donlavey this year. They've had some good runs, but most of the time they've had tough luck.
Front of the field now, Davey Allison first, Rusty Wallace second, Ford in first, Pontiac second, Jeff Bodine Chevrolet is maintaining third, Bill Elliott fourth, Earnhardt fifth, Kowicki sixth, Terry Labate picks up another spot from that 18th starting position. He is now 7th. Ken Schrader is in 8th, Bierswale 9th, Hill in 10th, Brett Bodine 11th. Richard Petty is now showing in 12th.
Notice that the draft, the 8-car draft we had before, is breaking up. Allison is pulling away, getting out of drafting range from his pursuers. This is really remarkable at this racetrack. That car has got it today.
It really has, and to be able to pull away and break the draft on a track like this is remarkable. That means that the chassis is working well, and certainly the engine is running well. And Ken, we should mention also that Morgan Shepherd made an unscheduled pit stop while we were way on break a moment ago for a change of tires.
Let's go to Dave Despain.
It may be the oldest cliche in racing, the $2 part that puts you out of the race. Benny Parsons is a former winner of this race. Junie Donlavey is his car owner. Junie, what is that thing?
We had a bolt holding the oil pump off that sheared off, and it let the oil pump drop down and burnt the bearings out.
So the bolt broke, and now the whole motor's gone. How much is that worth?
Quite a bit of money.
More than $2. Junie Donlavey, former winner Benny Parsons, is out of here.
There you see the Davey Allison car from, or rather the Bobby Allison car with Mike Alexander at the keyboard, currently running in 14th position. Lake Speed right behind him. Mike Alexander raced last night down in Louisville, Kentucky, where he finished 4th. He's leading in NASCAR Grand National points. He and Bobby Allison flew out of here yesterday afternoon. Tommy Ellis won that race And Mike Alexander maintains, I believe, his lead in the Grand National standings. And cutting a tire down last night was Waltrip. So there you see 14th from the 15th place car, Lake Speed. Now let's take a look at the leaderboard. The 27 of the 200 laps complete. Davey Allison is in front, and he is drawing away from the Pontiac of Rusty Wallace, running in second spot. Jeff Bodine, trying to stretch it to 2 in a row, is running third. He won at Pocono last week. Bill Elliott, who set on the pole with a new record, is back in fourth, and Dale Earnhardt is fifth.
And now Terry Labonte has moved around Dale Earnhardt and has taken over the 5th position. So Labonte is definitely on the move. He started pretty far back in the field.
18th. Here's Davey Allison lapping cars. Here's Richard Petty busting through traffic still. He is now up to 12th. There's Sterling Marlin down on the inside as he tries to fight his way through. And on the outside is Eddie Bierschwale. Sterling Marlin in the number 44. A little note to his mother, Eula Fay, has been sick for some time, and we'd like to say a special hello to her today. But not feeling well. We understand she's back home this afternoon. Hope you enjoy how your son is doing out here. He's making a pretty good move right now, Eula Fay. For more tire news, here's Dave Despain.
Kodak is in the film business, but for a while today in the Kodak pits, there was a big tire sale. When Rick Wilson blew the motor early in the event, the crews swarmed over to get the tires. And I've got to get out of the way because those tires are now the property of the 33 team. They may end up on Morgan Shepherd's car before this afternoon is out. The tires you see in front of you are the Hoosiers that were in Rick Wilson's pit. They were immediately snapped up by Travis Carter and the crew, and now they're mounting the lug nuts that may affix those tires to the 33 car before this afternoon is out. Everyone is concerned about tires. Nobody is taking any chances. They're taking all the cards they can to put in their hand in case they need to play them before this afternoon is out. Ken?
Morgan Shepherd is right in front of the leader, hoping he won't get lapped in that car. That team is for sale for just over $1 million if anyone's interested.
Here you see car number 28. You're going to get some phone calls, Chris. There's Davey Allison, and he's putting a lap on car number 33.
That's it.
Morgan Shepherd.
Now,
Hal Needham has part of a major corporation out on the West Coast, and I guess the consideration is to sell the team. And here he is going a lap down as Davey Allison continues to bust through, and Allison's lead is the biggest. It's a half second between first and second. Morgan Shepherd trying to stand his ground here and not go a lap back to Davey Allison. We have now completed some 32 of the 200 laps to be run this afternoon here in the beautiful Michigan Speedway. More in a moment. Here at Michigan, as Davey Allison draws away, here's the scramble. It is for fourth. Bill Elliott, who set on the pole after breaking Tim Richmond's track record, is there. But Terry Labonte, who started in 18th, is nipping away, drawing ever closer as they come out of turn number 4 and into the D portion of this 2-mile track. Let's take a look at the standings as we continue to follow that battle. Davey Allison in first. Rusty Wallace second. Jeff Bodine for third. Bill Elliott in fourth. Terry Labonte challenging in fifth.
And Ken, Terry's younger brother Bobby won a race at Concord, North Carolina last night, and every time Bobby has won, Terry has either finished first or second the following day.
There you see the battle for fourth. Here comes the Junior Johnson Chevrolet number 11 challenging the red number 9 Ford of Elliott out of Dawsonville, Georgia. Elliott was the choice of the press to win this race in a nationwide poll. He garnered the most ballots to bring it home, and the man they picked as the second favorite, Davey Allison. Rusty Wallace had just one vote. Here's a message from Mike Joy, who's standing by on pit road. Michael?
Ken, I'm in a sea of tires in the Dale Earnhardt pit. Counting the set on the car, they have 7 sets of Goodyears and 5 sets of Hoosier tires at the ready, depending on what race circumstances dictate. That's $8,000 in tires, never mind the cost of the wheels. They're different circumferences. Some of these sets have been scuffed in, some of them haven't. Conversation going on right now among the crew as to what set of tires they'll line up next to go on this car. But it's a pretty expensive inventory, and one that may be unable to be used at a further race down the road. So it's an $8,000 gamble to see which tires work best when.
I think it's important right here to explain the tire story for many of our viewers who may not be that familiar with what's happening here. The search for speed is never ending in the world of auto racing. And this year, a controversial new wrinkle has been added to that search here on the Winston Cup circuit. Dave Despain reports on the battle that has now moved from the engines to the tires.
For the Winston Cup crew chief, life at the track is a series of choices, selecting the best combination of mechanical elements to enable his driver to win. This year, there's an important new choice on the menu: tires.
You got to get your engine right and your gear right and select tires and run each one of them a certain amount of laps till you decide which one's going to be the fastest or work the best with your chassis. So we don't really have a lot of time to get the car like we would like to, and making a tire decision, I think, is an added attraction this year that we've not had to make that decision before.
For nearly 2 decades, the tire choice was a given. Goodyear enjoyed a virtual exclusive in this series. This year, upstart Hoosier Tire Company launched a frontal assault on what it likes to call the big guy. The result is widely known as a tire war.
You've had 17 years of stability where everybody knew what tire they were going to run. They all had the same tire. There was no disadvantage possible. But now you've got a disruption to that continuity, and there's a lot of problems for everybody.
In the race to produce the best tire, each company is pushing production deadlines to the limit, hoping to incorporate some new wrinkle, some 11th hour technological edge. In fact, many of the tires for this race were cooking in the factory molds Friday when practice began. Last month at Charlotte, we saw how important it is that the tire companies do their work well. Goodyear suffered failures in the Winston All-Stars race and withdrew its Charlotte tires. Then in the World 600, Hoosiers failed with alarming regularity, sending car after car into the wall. And we were reminded that in a tire war, the casualties are the drivers.
We can attribute the injuries there from tires. The tire war, the tire situation. Without a doubt, it was because of tires.
Our racing right now reminds me kind of like I never went to war, but I'm sure walking across the battlefield that you know there's mines out there and you're liable to step on one at any minute.
It's a situation that we've had more drivers in the past, probably, 6 months to a year hurt than we ever have. And, that concerns me because, sooner or later we're going to run out of good race car drivers.
The old racing adage says competition improves the breed. But is it worth the risk of injury to have a tire that's faster? Hoosier President Bob Newton got into business to solve tire problems he encountered during his own racing career.
I think that's instilled in a racer. I think he takes chances every day. I think there ain't a one of them in there that wouldn't jump out a 2-story window if he had an advantage of any type.
What's more, some drivers figure the long-range tire improvements are worth the short-term risk.
When these tire companies work out their problems, when Goodyear solves their problem, when Hoosier has a tire they're competent with at all racetracks, so we won't have any problems. There won't be any casualties with tires or with drivers. And when that happens, it's going to be better for us.
If we're seeing a tire war, and the companies involved don't like that term a lot, perhaps this is a summit meeting. We caught Mel and Newton having a chat about the pros and cons of a possible rule change that might open the door to tires that are both faster and safer. And for 40-year veteran crew chief Harry Hyde, who's seen all this before, the battle for superiority between tire brands is all part of the action.
We've got more than one race taking place. There's all kinds of races, but only one on the racetrack that counts.
And here is a graphic example of exactly what it is these racers fear. A blistered tire. It's hot. I need this grease rag. It came off the car of Eddie Bierschwale, who had his best qualifying run of his career here today. The Goodyear tire got too hot and blistered, the rubber separating from the carcass, and that brought him in prematurely for a tire change. They are frantically assembling both Goodyear and Hoosier tires over here for an anticipated tire change. Let's go back to Ken Squire.
We are under caution, and here's the reason. Sterling Marlin apparently has lost an engine. We are under caution. This is at lap 44. Davey Allison, the leader, is now pitting. Rusty Wallace, running in second, is pitting. Bill Elliott is in. Neil Bonnet is in. Terry Labonte, Richard Petty, who's moved up to 10th. And let's go to Mike Joy.
Davey Allison, the race leader at the time of the caution, making his stop. He started the race on Goodyear's, and crew chief Robert Yates is changing only the right side tires. Now, under caution, they'd have time to go around and change the left, and now a man is over the wall to loosen those lug nuts as well. The team manager, Yates, also is the jack man, as you see that left front tire going on, and Davey will stay on Goodyear. The tires coming off the car look to be a little bit worn, but don't appear to be grained up, and there are no blisters. So Davey Allison getting pretty good tire wear, making his stop, and he's away.
Before the standing room only crowd, here you see the activity on pit road. It came at just about the appropriate time to come in to fuel these cars. They were just a little past 80 miles when this caution came out for Sterling Marlin, losing an engine in the first and second turn.
Every car in the race except 4 were in the pits for a moment there. There were 4 cars on this big 2-mile racetrack.
And many of them welcomed this opportunity to come into the pits because some of them were not handling as well as they would have liked. And of course, as you said, Ken, they were about ready to come in for fuel anyway.
Number 5, Lake Speed's car is being pushed on, number 5, Jeff Bodine's car is being pushed on pit road. They try to get him refired. Lake Speed had the same problem a moment ago. They pushed him for a considerable length of time, and then it finally fired. Here is number 5, Bodine, finally catching, and away it goes. Now, just before this caution flag came out, the first of the leaders to pit was Dale Earnhardt. He pitted under green about 2 laps before we had the caution.
And I'm not sure if he stayed in the lead lap or not. I think he did, Ken. We'll watch Earnhardt coming into the pits, and that would have been under the green. You can see his crew go out and change the right side tires. This is on tape, of course, just before the caution came out. In fact, as the caution was coming out, Earnhardt was going out of the pits, and I think he stayed in the lead lap.
Staying on Goodyear tires, noticed. Well, that's Dale Earnhardt. That's going to set him a little bit out of sync had this yellow flag not come up as far as fuel goes. The car can get about 100 miles, but that's trying. They like to make their first pit stop in any race early to get a fuel measurement. After that, they know precisely how far they can go. What I wonder is why these cars won't fire up. The sun's been coming in and going out, and that changes track conditions radically. And when the sun is out, a certain group of cars are going to run better than another group. When the sun's behind the clouds, different cars are going to run better. Will that affect the ability of the engine to fire, Ned?
Well, I'm not sure if it's that, Chris, or if it is sometimes the clutch on these cars works so quickly that when they drop the jack and they take off, it'll kill the engine if the driver doesn't have the RPMs of the engine just right. And if in the frantic situation, then they might flood the engine in trying to get it refired.
Say Bodine may have been out of gas, and that they may have had to draw a little to get it up into the carburetor. 5 cars are now out. Wilson, Simcoe, Denny Parsons, Bailey, and Sterling Marlin have retired from the 41 that started. Here's Mike Joy.
And I'm with Waddell Wilson, crew chief for Jeff Bodine. Was he out of gas?
Yes, he was. You know, we've had to richen it up some, especially after yesterday. And this is a different engine combination we run at Pocono last week.
He's a little out of breath for pushing that car. You like to play it close to the vest. Last week you won at Pocono, ran out of gas on the cool-off lap.
Well, you know, we had it calculated just to come out in that amount of time. You know, we knew that it was going to be close, but that was the only chance we had of winning. And we needed to win bad enough, so we went for it.
And they did. This week they ran out of gas a little bit early, but Bodine is back up to speed and on the racetrack. Here's Dave Despain.
Ernie Elliott has brought his car in with Bill Elliott, the early leader. You drop back off the pace a little. Any problems at all, Ernie?
No, just, you know, looking at the tire situation. You know, the tires look good, but we're just, you know, we're concerned after the last few races of the tire problems. We just want to make sure we don't have a problem here.
You tested on both brands and reportedly ran about the same speed on both brands. Do you have any intention to change, all else being equal here?
No, right now we'll stay with the Goodyears. You know, they seem to be doing a good job.
Thank you, Ernie Elliott. Goodyear has been the tire of choice for the Elliott team most of the season. They went to Hoosiers reluctantly, and if they can stay on Goodyear tires here today, they will. The sun, as you may be able to tell, has come out and is shining brightly, and it's warming up fast down here. It's a dramatic change in the weather from the weather that we saw this morning, and that in turn was a dramatic change from yesterday, and that's just adding to the tire guessing game that they're playing on pit road. Ken?
If the sun comes out, which tire is favored, Ned?
My opinion is that Goodyear was favored because of the cooler weather this morning. I think if the sun comes out, it might favor the Hoosier tires a little bit. It'll be interesting to see.
Let's take a look at the standings now. First, let's take a look at the attrition. Here you see the reasons out, with 5 officially retired from the 41 starters, leaving 36 cars still in competition. Latest victim is Sterling Marlin. Now, Rusty Wallace has appropriated or inherited first position in this caution period. Wallace has been here on 4 previous occasions. His best finish was last year. After he sat on the pole, he finished in 5th.
Ken, I'm not sure that inherited the lead is the proper verbiage because his crew got him out of the pits first, really is what happened.
Here's the pace car coming in, and we're ready to resume action with Bill Elliott second, Davey Allison third, and from the Goodyear Blimp Enterprise out of Pompano Beach, Florida, let's watch the start of this event again. After the second caution of the day, on the break, Morgan Shepherd trying to get a lap back, snaps out in front. Car number 33 as they approach turn 1. He does not get it back. He fell back his body, had it for a moment, and then motoring by the Pontiac. Rusty Wallace is there. And you can see Morgan pressed on the outside with car number 9, Bill Elliott in second, Davey Allison third. And from Darrell Waltrip's car as he tries to slug it out through heavy traffic. Dave Marcus just in front of him here. There's David Simcoe. Correction, that's David Sotheby right there in the 92 on the inside.
So Waltrip's car, after he changed tires and that other caution, was not running up to par. I believe they made some changes, perhaps in the tire stagger, and he is running better now than he was earlier.
Darrell Waltrip trying to get back in this thing. He has won the August race. June race has escaped him. He pulls up behind Jeff Bodine, and there's Jimmy Means down on the inside.
Look at the rough ride Jeff Bodine is having in that Levi Garrett car.
Well, as a result of the car running out of gas, he was much farther back in the field than he would have been, so he has a lot of fighting to do to get back up towards the front.
Now let's check in on Lake Speed's car. Here he is right there's Dale Jarrett right there. Kid doesn't look bad this afternoon, Ned. Hi, Dad.
He's going along pretty good. Of course, he's getting past right now, and they're getting awfully close together.
Getting a little nervous there, Jarrett?
I just assumed they stay a couple of feet apart, but look at them come close together again. And Lake Speed finally makes the pass. Rusty
Wallace staying up in front. Bill Elliott is in second. Davey Allison maintaining third. Is further back in the field, the car number 1. That's about 24th spot on the positions in the race right now that we're watching. Back with the leader, and there you see the advantage for Rusty Wallace in 27.
Dale Earnhardt's back in fourth place. You think we're seeing a new Dale here? Usually he just goes hell for leather to get the lead. He seems to be content to sit within striking distance in the early laps of this race today.
Terry Labonte right there with him and seems to run just as strong as he does. I'll tell you, the guy who's on the move is Richard Petty up into 6th. Petty looked like he was going to win Pocono last Sunday. And then once again had problems.
Started 24th.
Yeah. And here he is up in 6th. See him right there in car number 43. Closing in again.
He has been driving as hard this year as I have seen him in a long, long time. I think that he wants to put the things to rest, that he's not ready to hang up the helmet yet. He wants to show people that he's still capable of winning.
I'll tell you, he'll get some round of applause if he can pull it off here today. He win number 201 in a career where he's had over 2,000 starts.
And Terry Labonte is going to the inside on car. There you see it right there, number 11, the red and white car just in front of the number 3 of Earnhardt, as Labonte shows tremendous strength today. Labonte moving into 4th, and Earnhardt falling to 5th.
Labonte's car is very strong here today. He didn't qualify as well as he had hoped to, but there's a big difference in qualifying. It takes a couple of hours to qualify here, and the heat, as we mentioned earlier, was tremendous, and those that drew a big number qualified late. They ran about a half a second to 3/4 of a second slower than they had been practicing. And I think Labonte was one of those people, and they have that car dialed in now.
Last lap. How about this, Chris? 172 miles an hour, 172.04.
Almost qualifying speed. You know, one of the things the drivers complained about yesterday was the wind. Now, we've got a pretty brisk wind blowing up the home stretch, head on the nose on the back stretch. And they say that the cars can really feel it here at the Michigan International Speedway. Going up the front stretch, Ned. Was that a good push?
Yes, it certainly, if you have a tailwind, which it is right now, it will get you into turn 1 pretty quick. I think that they'd rather have the wind reversed if they're going to have wind at all.
The only problem with that is you have to lift a little going into number 3 if you have wind behind you. If not, it will really throw you.
Well, it will, but everyone says that the turns 3 and 4 are a little bit easier to get through than turns 1 and 2 for some reason.
Who would have thought that auto racing would come down to whether the sun is out or behind a cloud, whether the wind is going to front stretch or the back stretch? It's become highly technical these days.
There's the voice of the old-timers. Here's Rusty Wallace in front, Bill Elliott second, Davey Allison third, Terry Labonte in 4th, and Labonte is now closing on Davey Allison for that 3rd position. There you see the interval. Going back and looking a little deeper into the field now as Rusty Wallace is trying to just draw away in the Barry Dotson prepared Pontiac number 27.
Well, he's certainly showing the style that has got him to the lead in the point standings.
Some smoke out of Jimmy Means, number 52. Qualified back in 40th position today. Jimmy Means looks like he may call it an afternoon with just 54 of the 200 laps complete here at Michigan International Speedway in our live CBS flag-to-flag coverage. Means on pit road.
And he's making that hard left turn into the garage area, which means that apparently he is out for the day.
Part of this vast throng that is gathered in the Irish Hills. Usually green, now more gold. Drought condition here, severe in Michigan. They're worried about the corn race coming up in August. I wonder if there'll be any corn. It's only about up to your knee. It's usually as high as Chris Economaki's eye at this time of the year.
There's the interval, 1.37 seconds between the first and second place.
Here's Dave Despain with Sterling Marlin.
Sterling has struggled a little here today and ended in a major loss in that struggle, but overall this has been a great season for the man who is 5th ranked in the standings, and that means today's problem is expensive. What happened?
Well, it looks like we broke a timing chain. We broke one at Charlotte Fraction, and this is the second one we broke, so evidently we got some faulty timing chains or something. But the Piedmont Underalls O's is running good, and we just need to make a little chassis adjustment, and I think we're in right at the front. We'd run some of them down, so we'll get them next week in Daytona.
No chance of fixing this problem.
No, it's history.
In this situation now, do you go back and start researching and finding other timing chain suppliers, perhaps? Is it that kind of a problem?
Well, we may do it. We'll just have to look at it. You know, it could be just a freak thing, breaking 2 of them, but you know, it's pretty costly for us to stay with 5th in the points, and you know, we probably might drop back to 6th or 7th. It just depends on, you know, what materializes out there. So we'll keep our fingers crossed, hope to stay in 5th.
I don't need to remind you, I'm sure that there's $500,000 in point fund money that's going to be distributed after the Daytona race in 2 weeks in those point standings. You may have lost some of that. Let me ask you instead how you enjoyed carrying our camera car. We sure liked the pictures. How did you feel about it from the other side?
I really enjoyed it. I've never done it, and anytime y'all want to do it again, just let me know. I'll be glad to do it.
Well, you're a handsome devil. We may do that. Thank you. Sterling Marlin out of the race, broken timing chain.
Rusty Wallace continues to stay out in front. Won $2 million since he started in 1988 or 1980. We'll see if he can win more here today. We'll be back with more live coverage of the Michigan 400 after this word from your local station. Let's take a look at the standings as of 50 laps, 100 miles. Rusty Wallace then leading a 1 7/10 second advantage over Bill Elliott, followed by Davey Allison, Dale Earnhardt, and Terry Labonte. Now, let's take a look in the second group, and there you see Richard Petty, who started well back today, 24th, now up into 6th. And let's take a look at the 11th to 15th. Bobby Hillen running in that 11th spot. Ricky Rudd in 12th. Mark Martin. Cale Yarborough is coming back into this race. The 6-time winner is up to 14th. So those are the standings as of 50 laps. We've just now completed the 60th lap, 100-mile rundown in the top 15.
And car number 7 is in the pits. Let's go to the pits and Dave Despain.
Alan Kulwicki, who qualified very well here and in fact has been qualifying very well, is changing brands of tires. He's making an unscheduled stop under the green. Goodyears are coming off, Hoosiers are going on, and that process takes too long to prevent yourself from losing a lap. So for Alan Kulwicki, it was a decision he obviously felt that he had to make, to take those Goodyears off and put the Hoosiers on. It'll cost him a lap on the racetrack. Ken?
Alan Kulwicki had qualified 6th for today's race. He seems to do so well with such a small team. Doesn't have the kind of funds some others do, but he really makes the best use of it.
And Richard Petty continues his march towards the front. He just moved around Dale Earnhardt, who was running in the 5th position. So Richard Petty is still on the move.
You talk about Kulwicki. He's one of only 6 owner drivers in the race. This very expensive sport of stock car racing for years was one where contract drivers handle their cars. But more and more we see drivers coming back in as car owners. Cale Yarborough, Jimmy Means, Buddy Arrington, Dave Marcus, Lake Speed, Buddy Baker. And for years Richard Petty was listed as the owner of his cars, but no longer.
And speaking of Buddy Baker, we have a report that he might have a rear end leaking a little bit of grease. We'll keep an eye on his car number 88.
Ricky Rudd had called in and reported at number 20 from his car number 26 that the Baker car was showing some leaking out of the back end. Now here's car number 27, almost a 2-second advantage. Speed at the end of the first 100 miles, 139.481 miles per hour, well off the record, as Wallace goes for another victory here, getting closer to a $150,000 bonus right after the Firecracker 400 at Daytona, if he can sustain this tremendous drive that he has exerted in the month of June.
Which included 1 first, 1 second, and 2 thirds.
Well, you know, Brett Bodine is lying 7th in car 15. You know, we talk about Billy Martin getting fired as the manager of the Yankees again and again. Well, Bodine, the rumors are that unless things get better at the finish line, he's going to lose this ride. So he's under a lot of pressure today. That's Jeff Bodine's kid brother. Watch him in that number 15 car to see whether he can pull off a good finish. His car owner, Bud Moore, is here in a wheelchair. He was hit by a car a few weeks ago and broke a leg.
He was hit by Brett Bodine.
Right, and he's back for his first race. I guess that would be enough to make you want to fire your driver. If a driver comes in and runs over the car owner and breaks his leg.
Not according to Bud. I talked to him this morning. He said, I've been hit before. He said, it wasn't the car that got me. He said that after I jumped up to get on the hood and I slid off and hit a flagpole there at the Charlotte Motor Speedway. He said, that's what busted my leg.
Well, he's here. Bud Moore's a World War II veteran, has got a great combat record, capturing all those Germans.
See that yellow car on the outside? That's Michael Waltrip in the number 30. Who finished second last week, and that's some of the best racing out there. Michael's falling back a little. The fastest get-well card I've ever seen is out there. That yellow car has over 600 signatures on the rear deck lid, and underneath in what they now call the television panel, it says Get Well Bobby, and also Get Well Scott, who is the, there you see it right there. Little message to Bobby Allison. They're hoping the in-car camera will find him after a while out there, and they can send their good wishes along from Chuck Ryder and company with car number 30, Michael Waltrip, who's had his luck. He said the greatest day of his life was, I passed my brother under full green the other day. We'll be back with more in a moment. Here are the current standings in our CBS live flag-to-flag coverage of the Michigan 400. Rusty Wallace has extended his lead to 2 3/10 of a second over Bill Elliott in second. Davey Allison maintaining third. Terry Labonte is in fourth and on the charge, and so is Richard Petty, now up into fifth. In the top 5 at the present time, those drivers with Richard Petty, and here's a summary of the race. We've had 4 different leads, 4 different leaders, and the lead has changed 3 times, and they're averaging 143.8. We've had a couple of cautions, and 6 cars have retired. Let's check for you the intervals around the 2-mile track here at Michigan. There's Rusty Wallace out in front with that Pontiac. And how far back is Bill Elliott? Well, he's that far back. Better than 2 3/10 seconds to Bill Elliott in car number 9. Now, third spot is number 28, Davey Allison. And there you see Davey coming into the picture. And there's one car slowing dramatically in the back straightaway. And then you see the 4th place car, number 11, Terry Labonte, follow. And that's Davey Allison slowing now in the back straightaway. Davey Allison off the pace. Davey Allison's number 28, slowing dramatically in the back straightaway. Davey Allison drops to the bottom of turn number 3. 2-time winner in Winston Cup racing. Headed back toward pit road.
Can't be fuel. It has to be something else.
Yeah, they haven't run long enough for him to be out of fuel, but the car is coming in. It looks like it's out of power, so something might have happened to the engine.
Davey, who sat on the pole twice this year, with the Ranier car down. This moves Terry Labonte into 3rd, Richard Petty to 4th, Dale Earnhardt to 5th, Brett Bodine into 6th, and Phil Parsons up into 7th. Never more determined to win than today, but for Davey Allison, a mechanical malfunction is putting him back in the garage area as a retiree. We'll be talking with him momentarily. There's the leader, Rusty Wallace. And let's check those intervals one more time. There's Wallace, your leader. And then it's more than 2 seconds back to the 2nd place man, Bill Elliott, in car number 9. And then 3rd place is number 11, which is Terry Labonte. Terry Labonte, car number 11. And following that car is Richard Petty in the number 43.
And there's Morgan Shepherd. Of course, he's a lap down as a result of an early unscheduled pit stop. And Dale Earnhardt running in the 5th place in the black car number 3.
Behind him, Brett Bodine is now shown as 6th. Phil Parsons in 7th. Schrader in 8th. 9th, Jeff Bodine. 10th, Cale Yarborough. And 11th, Bobby Hillin. Give a call to Cale getting back in this scrape.
He's having one of the best runs here today that he's had certainly this year, Ken. And now that he's hired Elmo Langley as the crew chief on the car, things have settled down in his team, and they have been running better.
Now up to 10th from 28 starting.
His best finish this year has been 18th, and that included a wreck. It's been tough for Cale since he moved into the owner-driver ranks. I mean, he may be having second thoughts about that.
Davey Allison, this is only the 3rd engine-related problem this year. Had a valve go at Bristol, had an engine let go at Talladega earlier, and Davey Allison has brought his car back to the garage. There you see Petty trying to fend off Dale Earnhardt as the Pontiac of Rusty Wallace, the Raymond Beetle team, stays out in front. There's the interval between the 4th and 5th place cars. Richard Petty being shadowed by car number 3. And there's some other things going on around the Michigan International Speedway this afternoon. Not exactly around the Speedway, but not too far away. Oh, it looks like a Clark Lake over here, just about 3-4 miles away. Turning out to be a lovely afternoon. Temperature in the mid-60s, yesterday in the high 90s, as Wallace continues to seek another victory this season and get one step closer to leading through the first segment of the year in the Winston Point standings. The interval continuing to build. Darrell Waltrip peering back.
He's been having a good race with Neil Bonnick right behind him. Dale Jarrett is right behind Neil Bonnick, and Derek Cope behind Jarrett. Jarrett's car go a little high as he goes into the turns.
18th, 19th, and 20th. And I don't believe a lap down.
No, they're all in the lead lap. In fact, there are about a half a dozen cars behind them that are still in the lead lap.
7 cars have now retired. Latest, Davey Allison. Neil Bonnick just going to lap down.
He had made an unscheduled pit stop earlier, and he had gone a lap down. And Rusty Wallace, boy, his car is really working here today. That thing is just wherever he wants to go. They work hard on getting the chassis right on the car, and it's certainly working good for him.
It was the very last car to be brought to the line this morning and placed out on the track. They worked on it right up to the very last moment.
Here's Mike Joy.
Davey Allison climbed out of his Thunderbird, headed for the truck to go back up and get changed and be alone with his own thoughts for a while. He's obviously very disappointed to be out of this race. He'd hoped to run all day.
He had hoped very much. He said he had never been more determined to win. He wanted one for his dad, but that's racing.
Yeah, we just checked the clocks on Rusty Wallace and Richard Petty. Petty's way back there in 4th place, but Petty is running the same speed as Wallace. Wallace is pulling away from Bill Elliott, but Richard Petty is matching his speed.
Incidentally, a lot of folks are calling and wondering what they can do. If there's something that they want to send things, they want to send flowers. The Allisons have requested, Davey did the other day, he said, we don't need any more flowers. We have turned the hospital up there in Allentown, Pennsylvania, into a garden center. And he said, if you really want to do something for us and you feel that you want to make a contribution somewhere, give it to the Winston Cup Wives Auxiliary. That's Ann Schrader, Ken Schrader's wife. 400 Windy Road down in Concord, North Carolina. And they mentioned a good friend of theirs, Mac Robinson. They said, give something to Mac Robinson, who is on the mend. And but they said, please don't send flowers. And if you feel so moved, far better to make it for all the drivers and their families and send it to the Winston Cup Auxiliary Wives program.
Because that auxiliary does do a lot of things for injured drivers, Ken, and that is a good choice.
Rusty Wallace, you know, his successes have been on road courses, even though he grew up on the oval tracks. He's looking for his first super speedway win. He's won 3 races on road courses and 2 events on short tracks. And now he wants that first big track victory. And the way he's running now, if he can hang on there, we're getting fairly close to the halfway mark. It may be Rusty Wallace's day here at the Michigan International Speedway.
Now, it'd be fun to watch him at Watkins Glen. He is so marvelous as a road racer in that Raymond Beetle car. The 3rd place man, Terry Labonte, in 4th place. It's Richard Petty still trying to turn it around. There he is in car number 43. He scored 200 wins, and there are Petty fans in every nook and cranny of this United States. Do you still have that same old desire to get into victory lane that you had years ago, Richard?
Well, I think so. I think that's probably why I got in trouble at Pocono. I got too racy at the wrong time in the race. There was still like 50 or 60 laps to go, and I probably shouldn't have been in there with 3 or 4 cars in one corner. And, you know, yeah, I think I have. I think that, you know, I want to win now probably as much as I ever have. And, you know, we're still going to do it. It's just a matter of time. You know, if we can keep the car running like we've had it the last 4 or 5 races, then we're going to win some races.
Will this be the day? Richard Petty is maintaining 4th. Car looking very stable out here. The winner of 55 super speedway races, 200 in his career. Will this be 201 at Michigan International Speedway? With 82 of 200 laps complete, Rusty Wallace continues to pound it out in front and build on his lead over Bill Elliott in 2nd, with Terry Labonte maintaining 3rd for Chevrolet. Richard Petty's Pontiac is into 4th. Dale Earnhardt is in 5th. Taking a look at the second 5 out here this afternoon. Phil Parsons is in 6th. Ken Schrader having a good day for Harry Hyde and Rick Hendrick up into 7th. Jeff Bodine has fallen back into 8th. Brett Bodine, his brother, tagging right along, and Cale Yarborough from 28th up into the top 10. How about it, Cale?
And Jeff Bodine just made a pit stop, and now car number 15 of Brett Bodine is in the pits. Jeff Bodine has gone a lap down.
Average speed through the first 80 laps, 149.5 miles per hour. 149.5. Here is Wallace ready to make his pit stop with a lead of 3 2/10 of a second. Here's Dave Despain on pit road.
Rusty Wallace is coming in a little earlier than normal. Raymond Beadle, the car owner, says it is nothing out of the ordinary. We have a big lead, and we're going to play it conservative here today. He has won on road courses. He has never won on the oval. He almost got this race a year ago. Wallace coming in, right side tires being changed, fuel going into the car. It'll be a right side rubber change only, and the leader of the race and the Winston Cup point standings is back out onto the racetrack. Let's get a quick word with Raymond Beadle. Raymond, looked like you came in a little early.
Well, we just want to make sure we didn't run out of gas. The car's running real good. We're not running in a draft with anyone, so we're just being safe, put on 2 tires, and hope we can keep this Kodiak Pontiac out in the lead.
You almost got it a year ago here. Is this the time that Rusty Wallace wins this race?
Well, we'd really like to win for the people here in Detroit because, you know, this is hometown of Pontiac. So since there's the car of the year, we'd like to go.
Raymond Beadle, former drag racer car owner for the leader, Rusty Wallace.
Coming in early, though, he may have to make 1 extra pit stop if that car's not getting the right kind of gas mileage. Jeff Bodine was in earlier, too, for a rather long pit stop. Apparently, fuel is a problem here. I've never seen cars get such poor mileage as they are today.
Bill Elliott is now in front. Well, they had to richen them up this morning with this cold weather, and apparently that's making a dramatic change. Terry Labonte now finds himself 2nd, and Richard Petty in 3rd. There's your leader, number 9, coming down out of turn number 4 here at the 2-mile Michigan International Raceway. CBS Live flag-to-flag coverage this afternoon, and Rusty Wallace has just given up that first position to secure an extra load of fuel, make sure he's all right.
But he did stay in the lead lap, and he made a good pit stop, and he was far enough ahead that he could stay in the lead lap. Phil Parsons is coming into the pits right now, so other cars will be coming in shortly.
Here you see Darrell Waltrip fighting with Joe Ruttman's car number 31.
Ruttman had just made a pit stop, has fresh tires on the car, and Bill Elliott slowing down. Apparently he's headed for the pits as well.
A lot of the leaders in. Mark Martin is in. Phil Parsons coming in. Bobby Hillen. And I think that car number 9 is running a little too long.
Well, he's coming in a little bit slower than normal. Of course, they have to get it slowed down pretty good as they come off of the banking. Richard Petty's coming in behind him. As they come off of the banking and hit the flat surface on pit road, they have to be very careful. And we can see Elliott slides in. They go to work on the right side to change those tires. Richard Petty went by. He's pitting a little further down pit road.
4 car lengths in front of car number 9 is where Petty has come to rest for Dale Inman and crew to do their job. Here's number 9 coming out, and you'll see Petty's 43 still being worked on there. 13 1/10 of a second on Bill Elliott. Terry Labonte, for the moment, has the lead in car number 11.
This should put Wallace back in front of Elliott. Wallace's stop was about 1.5 seconds quicker.
David Sosby being pushed off pit road. He's had a pretty good run going, but now it's taking 6 men to try and get that one to throttle once more time.
Now, Terry Labonte is in the pits. He had assumed the lead, and that should put Cale Yarborough into the lead.
Who has not pitted. Now Cale is in. Cale also comes in. So the top 10 have all been on pit road, and David Sosby's having a heck of a time right here by the start-finish line trying to fire his number 92. Meanwhile, you see the number 11, Terry Labonte, coming out. There's Dana Patton out of Enfield, New Hampshire. Youngster in only his second Winston Cup race, taking on right side tires. That's a pickup crew, all friends and pals from northern New England who came down to support him. Michael Waltrip is pitting car number 30.
And, of course, these are all scheduled pit stops. They were running low in fuel, had no choice but to come in. Here's Kyle Petty in the Wood Brothers Ford, number 21.
Schrader now takes the lead in car number 25. Ken Schrader giving the call for first place. He is now on pit road and almost getting run over here by car number 21, Kyle Petty, as he exits. So it's a wholesale change of positions under green with 91 of 200 laps complete.
Give you an example of what a pit crew can mean to a driver on the track. Right now, Rusty Wallace is 10 seconds ahead of Bill Elliott. He was only 3 when he went into the pits, and now he's 10, and the pits make the difference.
Well, he was stopped on pit road for only a second and a half less, but Elliott came in much slower than did Rusty Wallace, and that helped to make a big difference. Plus the fact that Rusty stopped quicker, put on new tires, that for the few laps that he ran, he probably picked up a good half a second a lap because he had on new tires.
There you see the 31, Joe Rutland's car, staying with it. And here's number 88, Buddy Baker, now pitting. So everyone has come in just shy of the halfway mark in the event. 93 of the 200 laps have been completed. 8 cars have retired. Latest retiree with engine failure was Morgan Shepherd, and just prior to it, if you're just joining us, Davey Allison succumbed to engine difficulties. Robert Yates really had high hopes. Here's number 23, Eddie Bierschwale, who had his best qualifying in this event. Any Winston Cup race, he qualified 7th with the Buddy Parrott car.
And he had an unscheduled pit stop a little earlier. Here we see Richard Petty and Jeff Bodine going at it. Bodine made his pit stop before Petty did, and so now they're battling for position.
Now, two key Fords are out of the race, Davey Allison and Benny Parsons. There were 9 Fords at the outset. I wonder if...
This has been what they've called a Ford track over the years.
That's right. The Fords do well. The interval between Rusty Wallace and Bill Elliott remains the same, about 10 and a fraction seconds.
So Rusty Wallace is once again leading after we've shuffled through these pit stops, and Bill Elliott finds himself in second, but a little further back than he was before from the fleet Wallace. Approaching halfway, and Rusty Wallace has a 7-second advantage, biggest of the race, over Terry Labonte, maintaining second position. That's right, Labonte, after the shakeout from the scoring, is second, and Bill Elliott is back in third after that slow arrival on pit road. Darrell Waltrip has come to 4th, and Jeff Bodine finds himself in the 5th position. Checking further back in the standing is Dale Earnhardt, who is being shown presently with his car number 3 back in 12th. Let's get a report from the pits as to why.
Kirk Shelberdine, crew chief on the car. The report was you ran out of gas. That's not exactly right, is it? Tell me what happened.
Well, he ran out about 200 yards short of where he was going to back off and come in the pit. What happens, they change the fuel on us every year a little bit, and it takes more and more fuel to run the engine at the same speed. So we're about 3 or 4 laps short of the last race here. So it's taking everybody a little time to figure all that out.
They've changed the actual composition of the fuel, the chemical composition of the fuel?
Yeah, it's just, they don't make it like they used to.
Kirk Shelberdine says get about 3 laps less.
Well, they don't make anything like they used to anymore, right?
Here's Darrell Waltrip now on pit road.
I thought this is a remarkable drive. He was back in 35th place when he decided to change tires, and that obviously was the right move for him. He's among the leaders now.
Well, of course, he got up on the leaderboard as a result of everybody else having made pit stops, and now he's making his pit stop. Now, he's getting good fuel mileage on that car because he went a long, long way.
Well, don't forget, he was out of sync. That first unscheduled stop for tires, that put him out of phase with the other drivers.
14 and 9/10 seconds on Waltrip for his stop for 2 tires and fuel. Wallace first, Labonte second, Waltrip now falling back. Jeff Bodine will move to 4th, Richard Petty back to 5th, Phil Parsons to 6th, Cale up to 7th, and 8th would become Ken Schrader with 9th, Brett Bodine, and 10th will be Earnhardt. Halfway this time by. Halfway in the event, this time by, averaging better than 151 miles per hour on the point. It is Rusty Wallace, the Missouri driver.
It's in one lap, Ken, and promoter Roger Penske takes a deep breath. The race is official. He can keep the money.
Keep the ticket.
He doesn't have to give a rain check.
Halfway is out.
Stock car racing and many other forms of American racing become official one lap past the halfway point in case of inclement weather and so forth. That's what we're talking about. So Roger Penske, the owner of the track and the race promoter here, is having a very, very big day with a gross gate of well over $1 million.
There's the interval. And second place coming along. That is not it. It's Alan Kowicki, who's a lap down. It's a 7-second space, so it's a pretty good sized one. Rusty Wallace has pulled out here in car number 27. Wallace, winner at Riverside, California earlier this month. First win came in Bristol. There's the interval, back to car number 11. Hanging tough out here today is Terry Labonte, having a great afternoon. Tim Brewer has done a great job, he and Junior, bringing out the number 11 for today's race. Competing, Elliott is third, Bodine is fourth, and Richard Petty is in fifth. And we're halfway in the event with 8 cars now having retired from it. We'll update you on all of that very shortly. Checking a little further back, Mike Alexander in the Bobby Allison car. Mike Alexander is running 14th on the field. 535-pound driver. Excellent. And there you see Mike Alexander's car, number 12, current Grand National leader. He's at 8 top 5 finishes. He's won a race in Grand National racing this year. And his best finish in Winston Cup was 7th in Daytona. Firecracker race back in 1981, getting an opportunity of a lifetime, subbing for Bobby Allison here today in car number 12, Mike Alexander out of Franklin, Tennessee. There's Ricky Rudd right behind him. Rudd moving in on him, and Rudd is trying to pass him for 14th spot. Ricky Rudd on the mend, of course, from his crash at Charlotte in the Winston. Badly injured a leg. He came right back and ran the next week, and of course we saw him in the Busch Clash down at Daytona take that terrible crash some time ago. And Mike Alexander, of course, has subbed for Ricky Rudd already once this season. Now they're out here battling each other. Take a look at Terry Labonte pulling up behind Darrell Waltrip here as they continue their little war.
Well, Waltrip fell a lap down on that late pit stop he just made, but he's out of phase, as they said. He'll get it back when the others make their routine pit stop.
When you change tires, Ned, between Goodyear and Hoosier in this race, it changes the RPM level of the car, what, 150, 200 RPM?
Yeah, as much as 300 RPM, so there is a dramatic difference in the size of the tires here. This is the first time we've seen that this year.
And you can't change gearing. That takes 10 or 15 minutes, and so my question is, I would think you'd want to change to those other tires if you really thought you needed them toward the end of the race and not risk blowing the car up.
Well, as we see Terry Labonte move around Darrell Waltrip here, most of them that intended to change tires changed the gear this morning.
Went to a longer gear?
Went to a higher gear. So, in fact, Jeff Hammond told us that on Darrell Waltrip's car. They had already prepared for it.
The reason for the discrepancy is each tire company, Goodyear and Hoosier, has 3 tires, a tall one, an intermediate, and a squat one. And in the past, each company has brought the same kind to the track. But here, Goodyear brought its tall tire, and Hoosier brought its squat tire, which makes for the difference.
Oh, look at this struggle a little further back. Here's Richard Petty in car number 43, and that's Phil Parsons, who was running in 6th directly behind him. And to number 29, Cale Yarborough. That is a struggle between 3 men. Richard Petty, a former winner here in '74, Phil Parsons, who's won his first Winston Cup race earlier this year at Talladega, and also involved in there, Cale Yarborough, the all-time winner of this event. He's recorded 6 checkered flags in this one. And there they are. Dave Despain is standing by with Richard's cousin right now.
Cousin Dale Inman, the crew chief. Richard figured last week he may have lost the race by driving it into the fence. Is he going to make up for it here today, do you think? Can he win this thing?
I don't know. We're still out there, you know, but there's some awful good cars still ahead of us, and we're racing pretty heavy right now.
Early in the race, he had the ability to go to the front. Is the car strong enough to do that again?
I don't know. We probably need to put a little bit of wedge in the car and get more fresh tire, get another start at it.
He's listening to Richard on the radio right now, but I got a feeling that Dale Inman figures he's got some problems on his hands here, Ken.
And Neil Bonnet has some problems on his hands, I believe. Car number 21, that's Kyle Petty. Those cars are painted similar, so Kyle Petty is slowing as he goes into turn 3 and comes off of turn 4 down on the apron of the track.
Richard just rushing by him there. There you see the Kyle Petty car number 21. The Wood brothers have the record among car owners. They've won 10 times here at Michigan, but they're not going to come out of this one with any kind of a victory, as Kyle is bringing the car back slowly onto pit road, or trying to get it back. It's still lumbering along. Here it is, trying to get back to the garage area. It's going to make it.
That's the third Ford to say goodbye to this race.
So maybe they didn't go high enough in gear.
Could be. I don't know. Certainly the speed that we have seen run here today is much faster than they were running yesterday in practice. They were not turning as many RPMs yesterday afternoon because of the heat and the slower weather and slower speeds. But here today, with the cooler weather, they're running much faster, turning more RPMs.
Maybe we can have one of our pit reporters check on the specifics about Davey Allison, Benny Parsons, and Kyle Petty as to why their cars left the race.
Well, whoever made the choices on this car, I'm sure it's Barry Dotson, certainly made the right ones as we look from the Goodyear Blimp Enterprise in on this beautiful day in the Irish Hills of Michigan. Live CBS coverage of the Michigan 400. We hope you're enjoying the telecast this afternoon. And to remind you that coming up next on CBS Sports, final round coverage of the players could call this their home course. Bill Elliott would like to, as Harry Melling, his car owner, lives here 10 miles away in Jackson, Michigan. But Richard Petty and the rest of the flock have a long way to haul cars up here, and this is their busiest time of the year for these racing teams. We'll be back with more live coverage of the Michigan 400 after this message and a word from your local station. And so at the midway point of the race, as we're coming to you live from the Michigan International Speedway, here are the standings. One half of the way in, Rusty Wallace in front with a tremendous advantage over Terry Labonte in second, call it 7 seconds. Bill Elliott third there. Then in 6th to 10th, Phil Parsons in that 6th position. Cale Yarborough up into 7th from 28th, and back further in the field, 11th through 15th. There you see Ricky Rudd still battling with Mike Alexander for 14th place, and 16th through 20th. Mark Martin is back there in 16th. Alan Kowicki, who's been up in the first 3 rows at the start, he's back in 17th. Michael Waltrip working his way into the top.
9 and 6 seconds is the interval between leader Rusty Wallace and second place Terry Labonte. Rusty is really making a runaway of it at this point. That Pontiac is flying.
And from an in-car camera, you watch Bill Elliott here into the back straightaway of this beautiful 2-mile track on the Irish Hills of Michigan. Elliott's crew standing by. There you see his brother, Ernie Elliott, who put together those fantastic motors for the folks from Dawsonville, Georgia. There's the result of his work.
He never shows too much emotion. He just stands there and watches what goes on, but he knows what's going on out there.
This car, number 19, Harry Melling, contributed one of those cars to the Henry Ford Museum last week over in Detroit. Quite a moment for the Elliots. They were there, and Bill's dad and mother, or his mother for sure, was there. I had a chance to talk with her. She's quite a race fan.
Anybody that is interested in cars, that's a great museum to visit. There's cars and locomotives and other things mechanical on display at Greenfield Village.
Here's Mike Joy. He has an update on Davey. We haven't heard from Davey since his Ford dropped out. He and Robert Yates have gone back and closed the door on their transporter. They were so determined to win here today. Here's Mike.
They had engine trouble, Ken. That's what put them out. The engine will fire, it will start up, but it will not run and won't develop any power. So Davey parked it rather than just rolling around the racetrack on 7 cylinders. Now, he and his team manager Yates and car owner Harry Renier have been sequestered up in the trailer, and now here's Davey coming out with his wife Deborah, and he said he would try to give us a minute here. You know, for a heavy heart, the best tonic is a very occupied mind, and as long as Davey was going around that track at 170 miles an hour, his mind was off the events of a week ago and the last week. Davey, what happened first with your race car?
Well, we had a little engine trouble, and that's a shame. Our Hapland Star Thunderbird was really working good today, and we feel like we had our best shot at winning a race, and that's the way it goes.
What a tough week this has been, but I know winning this race would have been a great tonic for you, and I know for your dad.
It would have been, but, you know, we're not giving up. It's a little bit discouraging right now, but we're going to go down to Daytona next week and try to get after another one. I'd just like to say hello to my dad. I know he's at the hospital right now watching on TV, and to all my family that's over there, hang in there, and we'll see y'all in a little while.
I know you've been keeping up on his condition, and we have late word from the hospital that his condition is even further improved from this morning, and we passed that on to the country and wanted to share it with you.
Well, thank you. And also, we'd like to say thanks to all those people out there who sent cards and have prayed for us and just had all the best wishes and everything. You know, it's been great, the support that we've gotten, and that's helped us through these trying times right now.
Are you headed back there now?
We're getting ready to go to the airport right now. We're going to fly on over to Allentown and spend a couple of days there and then go on down to Daytona.
Good luck and Godspeed.
Thank you, Mike.
There's some of the support for one of the great ones. 84 Winston Cup victories. Our statistician Greg Fielding says that should be 85. Whatever it is, he's an all-time champion, one of the toughest racers, and it was interesting to watch those drivers with whom he's had some of his greatest scrambles. Cale Yarborough, Richard Petty, Darrell Waltrip, so touchingly moved. Davey was saying that Waltrip was moved to tears when he found out that Bobby was alive after that terrible crash at Pocono, and they've had some real goes this year. We watch Rusty Wallace continuing to lead here today in our live CBS flag-to-flag coverage of the Michigan 400. Economaki and Ned Jarrett, I'm Ken Squire. Trackside is Mike Joy and Dave Despain, and with 120 of the 200 laps complete, Rusty Wallace is making quite an imprint on this race. Better than a 9-second advantage over Terry Labonte, now in second. Bill Elliott is maintaining third. Jeff Bodine finds himself fourth, and Richard Petty, struggling since 1984 to win another race, is in fifth. Going in the sixth position is Phil Parsons, right behind Petty, and Cale Yarborough's locked in that war, followed by Ken Schrader. Then comes Dale Earnhardt in ninth, and Brett Bodine rounds out the top 10. Taking a look at a race summary right now is Brett Bodine that's running further back. Here is 240 miles complete. We've had 7 different leaders. We've had 8 lead changes, and notice the 153.7 miles per hour. Now, the record for the race was 153.485. That's by David Pearson in 1973 for this event. And right now, in this race, with 2 cautions already, Chris, it's 154.950.
That track record's 15 years old. Can you believe that?
You know, some of the other drivers had some comments they really wanted to have out about Bobby Allison today, and let's give them that moment to share.
Well, I left you the other day. You were laying in a hospital bed. You better get your tail out here. Somebody else is in that 12, and you're the man I want to see riding in that race car, because you can drive it a lot better than anybody else out here, so get back out here and get to work.
I say a prayer for Bobby every night. I hope that he has a speedy and full recovery.
Hurry up, Bobby, and get on back. We missed you. We know you can do it.
You're a great friend of mine. You know, we fly airplanes back and forth. We got a lot of stuff to talk about when it comes to that. But you're a good competitor in a racetrack. I've never had a friend get hurt this bad, and I hope you can make it through it. We're all praying for you.
Bobby Allison's car is now running in the 15th position with Mike Alexander at the keyboard. Buddy Baker is just pitting as we watch 27. Rusty Wallace staying in front. And let's take a look at that Richard Petty battle. There he is in 5th. Then Phil Parsons is in 6th. And you see Cale Yarborough being challenged by Kenny Schrader. There's Schrader on the bottom side, trying to move under and not getting through on Cale. Good scramble there. And right behind them, Dale Earnhardt. 5 cars grouped together, and the scramble is for the 5th position.
They have really been battling for about 50 miles, Ken, that whole bunch, and not many of them are able to pass each other. Of course, they're doing a good job of drafting and just hoping to keep up with Richard Petty. And here's Ken Schrader, though, he is making a move on Cale Yarborough.
Ken Schrader, bottom of the racetrack. Here's Richard Petty, still holding on to 5th.
Now look at Earnhardt. Make the 3 wide as to come off the turn. But he thinks better of it and decides to drop back behind Kenny Schrader and try to push him on by Cale Yarborough as they go down the front straightaway.
You may be right, Chris. We may be seeing a more conservative Dale Earnhardt.
Well, it's time to start racing with 126 of 200 laps complete. There's not all that much time left. And
look at
time now for the routine pit stops to start. Buddy Baker's already been in. David Sotheby's coming in, and the pit men are going to have the onus on their shoulders. As close as this race is, a few seconds here or there in the pit's going to have a difference in the finishing position.
Richard Petty overlapping Mike Waltrip and bringing with him Phil Parsons. And look at this struggle continue. 3 wide as they come down. This is for 7th. And on the inside moves Dale Earnhardt. The man in black makes it 3 wide. He's got the crowd on their feet as they continue 3 wide in formation down into turn number 1.
And this is what makes those $55 tickets worth it.
Cale Yarborough fends them off another time on the high side, keeping those RPMs built up, and he stays just in front of Schrader, pole sitter at Daytona this year. Back with Richard Petty and Phil Parsons. Here they ride 5th and 6th. And Wallace is slowing down. Is he coming in or is he in trouble?
Well, I think it would be a scheduled pit stop that he would be coming in for, but is he slowing off? No, he's slowing coming off of turn 2. He could have run out of gas.
I think he has run out of fuel. Number 27, Wallace, is very slow in the back straightaway, and yeah, everybody's overhauling him.
Jeff Bodine coming into the pits. Buddy Baker is back in. Mike Alexander going out after a pit stop. Rodney Combs is in the pits with the hood up on his car, so it is pit stop time, normal pit stop time.
And he still has a half mile to go. I doubt that he can get back. He's running so slowly on the bottom of turn number 3. Rusty Wallace. Terry Labonte now first. Elliott into second. Pit stops are taking place, and this will change the picture here. Here is Wallace now into turn number 4, bottom of the racetrack, going down the lap. He's lost a lap now.
Boy, that's an agonizing position to be in, Ken, if the car is out of gas. To just be coasting along, nothing he can do about it. Here's the pit crew patiently waiting on him to try to get here. Say, come on, fella, get here if you can. That's Jimmy Makar, the chassis expert on the car.
And your brother-in-law,
son-in-law.
He didn't get 80 miles out of that tank full if it's gas.
Here's Mike Joy.
They did not anticipate him running out of gas. Their last pit stop came some 46 laps ago, and they thought he'd make it. The car is not running. They changed right side tires on their last pit stop, so this time left side tires. Now Harold Elliott squirting ether into the air intake, trying to fire that engine, as Norman Kosciuszko fuels the car and drops the first of those 11 gallons gas. The danger here is that when he ran out of gas, they may possibly have burned a valve or a piston. We'll know in a few laps whether or not Rusty can get back up to speed. But that is agonizing to lose a race that way. And races over the last 2 and 3 weeks on this tour have been won and last on fuel mileage.
Rodney Combs has just gone behind the wall. Phil Parsons and Richard Petty are on pit road. The second place car, which had become the first place car, Terry Labonte in car number 11, is in. And also coming in is Bill Elliott's car number 9. So the leaders are all taking this opportunity to refuel and take on tires.
And Lake Speed has been coasting around the racetrack. Now, he was in just a few laps ago, so I don't think it's a situation of him being out of fuel. Let's go to the pits and Mike Joy.
This will be a quick stop, then. It's just left side tires, 22 gallons of gas, and Labonte quickly is down pit road and away. Here's Dave Despain.
And Bill Elliott has just been in and out. The time, 12.5 seconds on the Bill Elliott pit stop as they refueled and put on right side rubber. The race is really on pit road here, and those two cars should have gone out just about equal on pit stop time.
Well, we stood, it looked like Bill Elliott's crew did a bit better job than Junior Johnson's crew. We'll get the interval as they come by next time, but these pitmen are really under pressure now.
As we have it, Schrader would be your leader. Number 25, the Hyde car out of the Hendrick stable. Down into the main straightaway with 132 laps complete. Schrader in first, Cale in second. How about the pit stop times?
Bill Elliott's crew did their work in 12.5 seconds. Earnhardt 13.6 and Labonte 14.5. There's a spread there of 2 seconds between the best and the worst. 2 seconds at the speeds on this track, a couple of football fields in distance.
Well, the incredible story here is there have been 2 cautions, and they are still breaking all records. And every time that they have come in either the August race or the June race here and set a record, they did it with no caution flags whatsoever. And here today, we've had 2 caution periods, and they're still right up on the record. It's just amazing.
Well, the speeds are up so dramatically, and I think we can contribute a lot of that to the new tires that both Goodyear and Hoosier have here. Of course, the qualifying records were broken here yesterday in qualifying, and so that's letting them run much faster in the race.
They got to be winding the engines tighter, otherwise they'd be getting better gas mileage. They're not getting, used to get 100 miles out of a tank full easy here. Now having trouble getting a little over 80.
Yeah, that is surprising. Now, whether they got the car full when they made the other pit stop, you know, that's one thing. But it is surprising that they aren't able to go further. However, we still got some cars out on the track who haven't stopped yet. Kenny Schrader and Cale Yarborough, neither have made pit stops, so they're getting pretty good gas mileage.
8 total laps under caution thus far. 8 laps under the yellow flag thus far.
Schrader and Yarborough may well get to the checkered flag with one less pit stop than everyone else.
Dale Earnhardt, who's been running a bit back thus far in this race. How does it feel not to be the points leader these days? Rusty Wallace up in front of you, Dale.
Well, it's different, but still, it's a long way to the end, and we're just 110 points behind Rusty. And you know, it's real competitive from here on out. It's going to get back to the kind of racing we really enjoy, the short tracks and stuff. And I think we can overcome our deficit and win and go back to the front.
Earnhardt country, all right.
Well, the leader, Ken Schrader, is now coming into the pits, car number 25. And Dave Despain is there.
As Kenny Schrader rolls it onto pit road, this team has been frustrated this week. They didn't qualify very well. They quickly go to work on the left side. It'll be left side Goodyears for the Schrader car as Harry Hyde's been through their work here. And it looks like it's going to be as quick as the earlier stops, and the fuel has gone in the nod from Henry Benfield, the gas man. And it was off a half second from what we saw in the Elliott camp. The time was 13 flat on the stop for the men of Harry Hyde, and they put Kenny Schrader back into battle.
Put Cale Yarborough into the lead, and Yarborough now is about to come into the pits.
Well, what a job Cale has done. From 28th starting position, the 6-time winner of this event. He won the very first one in a tremendous battle with the late Leroy Yarborough. Here's Cale in, taking on right side rubber, taking on fuel. Picked up 5 points for leading this race.
Of course, he's not in the point battle because he's only running 10 races this year. And it looks like he's going to make a 4-tire change on his car, so that'll be a longer pit stop.
Terry Labonte, number 11, has gone back into the lead unofficially with Bill Elliott in second. Check that down for you in just a moment. 12 cars have just been announced as retiring, with Lake Speed, the 12th man out, and Rodney Combs just in front of us. Very long pit stop on Cale Yarborough.
Yeah,
4-tire change.
That'll put him out of that battle that he was in, running for the 5th position.
Interesting. That may be a strategic move on Cale's part. He and Jeff Bodine are the only drivers that took on 4 tires at their stop. Everybody else with 2. They know about the extra time it takes. Only 1 jack is allowed. You got to drag it from one side of the car to the other. But this may be a strategic maneuver that would help them when it's all over.
137 of the 200 laps have been completed. 137 of 200. Terry Labonte is now being shown as the leader in number 11, with Elliott second, Rudd third, Earnhardt fourth, Schrader fifth, Petty sixth, Brett Bodine seventh, Jeff Bodine eighth, Phil Parsons in ninth. And officially have Cale Yarborough in 10th. I think I'll wait a second on that one. 2 cautions, total of 8 laps, 41 cars started, 31 remain at this juncture. Well, Terry Labonte for the moment is out in front.
By almost 7 seconds.
Here's Lake Speed's car back in the garage area. Lake clambering out. Not happy about this at all.
Sort of cleaning house as he gets out of his car, and apparently out of it for the day. He had made a pit stop, went back out, ran a few laps, and then coasted back in. So evidently that is an engine problem.
So it's a 7-second interval between Terry Labonte, number 11, as you see him here, lapping number 12 or number 8, the car on the outside. That's 8 Bobby Hilla Jr. on the outside. He's running in 10th position. Hilla now being lapped by car number 11, the white and red car of Terry Labonte, as the battle of breweries goes down to turn number 1. Meanwhile, Dale Jarrett is pitting his car. Neil Bonnet is back in. Ricky Rudd is coming out. Leader by 7 seconds, Terry Labonte. This is a racetrack where Terry Labonte has not tasted much success in this race. He has never finished in the top 4 in this event. It's a hard one for Terry Labonte, who really runs strong, sometimes not up into the checkered flag area, but always is consistently in there. But this is one that has not favored him, and today he's doing a heck of a job. Stays right up there with the leaders. Terry Labonte in car number 11, which had started back in the 18th position at the start. Let's look at attrition now for just a moment. Bring you up to date on that. Retirees from the event. Rick Wilson out early with an engine going after he lost one yesterday as well. Dave Simcoe from Michigan. Benny Parsons, who was running well early. H.B. Bailey, Sterling Marlin, Jimmy Means is gone. The Davey Allison car retired. And then Morgan Shepherd's number 33. Kyle Petty is gone. Combs and Lake Speed have all gone back to the garage area and started to put their cars back into the haulers to move on to Daytona Beach, Florida.
And another car about to go behind the wall, and that would be David Sosby, car number 92. He's made several unscheduled pit stops, and it looks like they're about to put him on the list of those out of the race.
Well, Junior Johnson has had cars here that have won for him with Darrell Waltrip in the past. Cale Yarborough's had some success here as well. There's David Sosby, son of the great dirt track legend Gober Sosby from up in Dawsonville, Georgia, town where they've got this young man named Elliott these days.
Talking about Junior Johnson's cars, and Terry Labonte, of course, who now drives his cars. Terry has a couple of poles here in the past, and I think he finished second to Darrell Waltrip here when the record was set in the August race. So he's had some pretty good success here.
Here's Mike Joy with more on that tire story, Ned.
Ken, you were talking about the drivers that changed 4 tires in that last pit stop. Jeff Bodine did, but it wasn't by choice. The right side tires looked very good off Bodine's car, but the left rear tire had blister. Now, this does not necessarily mean a tire defect. It means that the way this tire was running on the car, the inside edge of it got much hotter than the right side edge or than the rest of these tires' temperatures across their surface, and the tread actually separated from the carcass. Sometimes this is the tire's fault, but more often than not, it's how the car is set up and balanced on all 4 corners. Ideally, those tire temperatures would be even on each measurement across each of the 4 tires. So that chassis setup may have been off just a little bit, too much weight on the left rear corner of the car and blistering that particular tire. You can bet they adjusted for it when they had to make that 4-tire change.
Thank you, Mike. Here you see Terry Labonte in car number 11, who's already tasted victory this season at North Wilkesboro, trying to win at Michigan. The cars we're seeing here today may be called stock cars, though they are anything but stock. Only the bodywork comes from the factory. Despite popular opinion, they are not great engineering advances. They don't even have fuel injection. Chris Economaki has more.
This is the most expensive and technically advanced sport in the world. Formula One Grand Prix Auto Racing.
Here in Detroit, Rosberg's lead is now back to 31 seconds. He had led by as much as 37.
But the stock cars may provide the most exciting racing.
The interval first to 12, 1 3/10 of a second. That's racing.
Week after week, the Winston Cup circuit produces fender-to-fender, hub-to-hub racing using the finest 1963 state-of-the-art technology. That's right, 1963. The basic engine and suspension designs in stock cars have not changed in a quarter of a century because that's the way NASCAR wants it.
You know, the race fan comes out to see a good race, and he's interested in entertainment. I don't think he's there because of research and development.
IndyCar racing and its European cousin, Formula One, are light years ahead of NASCAR in costs and allowable technology, but not for lack of know-how.
We do have engineering, and we do have computers that we run on board, and we do have a lot of that kind of development going on. But when it comes to the actual at the racetrack preparing for the race, NASCAR does not allow onboard computers.
I think the constraints were much greater in NASCAR from word go. It was, quote, stock car. Now, as you know and I know, they're anything but stock.
Obviously, in the last 2 to 3 years, the use of computers, onboard data acquisition, that sort of thing, has become a big thing in IndyCar racing. Sometimes we'll make a change on the car, and Bobby honestly cannot feel the difference, but the stopwatch may show an increase or a decrease. With this program we've got here, we can divide the track up into sectors, see where we've made a gain, where we've made a loss, and it really, it's a comparative tool.
The research and development expenditures needed to compete in IndyCar and Formula One can drive the cost of a car well past the $1 million mark. Today's stock car tops out at about $60,000, even with Whitewall.
When you look at an Indy 500 or a race at Michigan and you got 4 or 5 cars running at the end of the race, what does that tell you about your technology? And when you look at a 500-mile race at Daytona or Talladega and you start 40 cars and you got 35 of them running when the thing's over, what does that say about technology?
NASCAR didn't always enjoy the huge crowds one sees today. Back in the early days at the fairgrounds, they had to work to put the crowd in the grandstands. It was called rallying the midway. They used to do that, and it went like this. Attention on the grounds. Attention on the fairgrounds. Today is auto race day. One day only at the fairgrounds. Today, auto races on the dirt track. Top drivers from all over the country. Knights of the Roaring Road. Turning our half-mile track into a red-hot cauldron of speed. A special gentleman from the state capitol has been brought in to condition the track for the assault on track records we're bound to see. The thrills and spills begin with practice at noon, time trials at 1, and the first of 7 daredevil races at 2 o'clock. One day only, today. Those of you get to the tickets early, get the best seats. And stock car racing has never forgotten those early days and the image it created. And that's why today, the business of NASCAR is show business.
I think the sponsors in NASCAR go out of their way to promote the idea of the good old boy image and the you know, as you say, the looking back and, you know, the moonshine runners. I mean, there's a magic to that.
We know we're putting on a good show, and we know we're doing what the fans love and what they want to see.
That's part of our mentality. We know, as drivers, as car owners, as sponsors, we know we got to put on a show. We know those cars have got to bump into each other. We know there got to be some accidents, and we know that it's in our interest for them to come across the line just a foot apart.
And that may be what we're building for here today in Michigan as we've completed 151 of 200 laps. Terry Labonte doesn't want it to end that way. He'd like to win by a lap and a half or 2 if he can. Here he is leading right now over Bill Elliott in second place. But the man the story is about for the moment is number 27, Rusty Wallace. Now remember, he pitted very slowly. He is now the fastest car on the track, right, Chris?
Well, he's going faster than the leader and trying to get his lap back.
We understand NASCAR has given us notice that he is up there in that lap. I can't believe that.
Well, it could be, Ken, because he had a good lead before he ran out of gas. Even though it took him a long time to get back to the pits, he was pretty far out in front. And now he's trying to pass Richard Petty, according to NASCAR, for position.
Well, that's it. It's up to 5th. Rusty Wallace has picked off Richard Petty. Don't forget, golf is next this afternoon here on CBS. The Georgia Pacific Atlanta Golf Classic next this afternoon in our live coverage, which has commenced with the 400-mile, $540,000 Michigan 400 here on this 2-mile track. As we watch Terry Labonte continue to lead and watch Richard Petty fighting with Brett Bodine back here in a struggle for 6th position at this point.
Well, I think that Wallace has really got his work cut out for him. He's not going to be able to take a breather at all. There's only 48 laps left in this race, and he's the better part of a lap behind leader Terry Labonte. He needs a yellow flag is what he needs.
Ran out of gas after, what, 86 laps?
Yeah, no, he got 86 miles out of a tank full.
Tank of gas.
And,
I mean,
not enough, yeah.
Here he is. He's drawn away from Richard Petty in pretty good style here. Those are the leaders thus far in the race. Davey Allison has now retired. If you're just joining us, Davey Allison, his car succumbed some time ago here in the course of things at the 71st lap. Car number 28 went back to the garage area. 12 cars of the 41 that started have retired, leaving 29 still.
Dale Jarrett has just spun up in turn 4.
Tags the outside of the wall and will bring out the 3rd caution over there.
That's what Rusty Wallace has been waiting for.
155.8. They had broken all records, even though there had been 2 cautions. Dale Jarrett bouncing down off the 1st turn in car number 1.
He and Ken Bouchard have been running side by side for 2 or 3 laps, so don't know what happened, if Dale just lost it on the inside or what. He was already spinning around when we got to him. But he appears to be okay. In fact, he has the car fired. It looks like he's trying to get it to moving and try to get back to the pits and see if he can get it to going again.
This in the turn 4 area.
This is interesting, this timing here. There's 45 laps or 90 miles left. Not enough for a tank full of gas to get you to the checkered flag, unless, perhaps, you're a Cale Yarborough.
Yeah, he'll get most of them back to the checkered flag, I believe, Ken. Depends on how long this, or Chris, depends on how long this caution period would last. But most of them will be able to go the distance, plus the fact they'll be able to absolutely pack the tank with fuel this time, where on the green flag pit stops, they might not have gotten them quite full.
Well, they're going to be waiting now till the very last lap of the yellow flag period to make the stop for fuel.
You see car number 1 limping in here, Chris. They've gone all the way down to the end, and you can see them working on the back end of the car where it tagged the wall. It spun around and slapped the back end. Nose did not get into the wall.
Interesting. Nobody has made a pit stop yet under this yellow flag.
Well, they're waiting to catch up to the caution car, and once they did, or get the field slowed down, then they would come into the pits. And now Terry Labonte does come down pit road as they work on the left rear quarter panel of Dale Jarrett's car.
David Sotheby's number 92. We talked about it retired. It's back again. He caught a break. Is that why he went that far down? Was he pitted all the way?
No, he's pitting all the way down.
Okay. Here's Dave Despain.
Bill Elliott, second place man on pit road, work on the right side rubber. Looks like they're going to go all the way around on the pit stop, change all 4 tires with the luxury of the yellow flag. And as you guys talked about in the booth, pack that tank with fuel. They are doing that now. It's routine here. Let's go to Mike.
Junior Johnson's team has already changed the right side. Well, they've already changed all 4. And Terry Labonte is down pit road and away, back out to fall in line behind the caution car. And he has handily beaten Bill Elliott off pit road with that 4-tire change.
Bill Elliott now just pulling out, Mike.
All the contenders are taking on 4 tires. This is called rebuilding the car for the run to the flag.
And with you perhaps could see when Bill Elliott, they put the left side tires on, they were putting what they call sticker tires on. They were brand new tires that had never been run. Now you can get by with that with the Goodyear tires. The Hoosier tires, you need to run them and what they call scuff them in, let them cool off, run them again and scuff them in. But Bill Elliott put brand new tires on, and Richard Petty has a problem. Apparently he was out of fuel, or at least let the car die, so they're trying to get him fired again.
How many men are out over the wall, Ned?
Well, 5
How
plus
many
the
are
gas
pushing
can
the car?
man. They got, I believe
Getting a little help from his
extra ones
friends,
over there
Chris.
now.
Right, exactly. Well, let's see, you call it the Armstrong started method there.
And he's away.
There you go.
Let's take a replay of what happened to Dale Jarrett up here in turn 4. Top of the screen here. Goodness, I need my magnifying glass here.
Yeah, it just starts to break away. He was on the inside of Ken Bouchard and apparently just broke loose on him, or maybe a tire went flat. And Bill Elliott is back in the pits as we see Dale Jarrett tag the wall there. Let's go to Dave Despain.
Bill Elliott was having some handling problems. They decided to fix it by changing what's called the stagger. That's the diameter on the tires on the car. They put on 4 fresh tires just 1 lap ago. Let's find out if we can from the crew chief on the car, Dan Elliott. Now, what's that all about? You didn't like the first 4?
Bill said the tires were out of balance. We didn't want to take a chance. Came in and changed all 4.
You had changed the stagger on the tires in order to get a better setup. Were the ones you put on with the stagger that you wanted? In other words, did you have a backup set of tires?
Yes, sure did.
So they're in good shape. They got accomplished what they wanted to do. It just took them 2 tries. Let's go back up pit road to Mike Joy.
Well, there's a big conference going on here in the Junior Johnson pit. What Tim Brewer said a second ago, he says, now we're in trouble. And it's because the remaining laps of this race, aren't they just about the remaining what you've got in that gas tank?
One to go, Terry, when you get to the strike.
He's telling Terry Labonte we have 1 lap to go. Well, is this like drawing to an inside straight?
Well, I quit gambling about 6 months ago. I don't know what I'm doing here, but no, we had them pretty much covered, Mike. If the thing would have went green the rest of the way, you know, one of those situations when Rusty run out of fuel, we were in pretty good shape when we had 10 seconds on Elliott. Right now, Rusty, I see he's going to come back in and top off and try to run 43 laps.
You think he can do it?
I hope he can't.
Okay, because his driver will have to run there with what's in the tank the remaining distance.
1 lap and they will be racing. They will take the green at 1:50. Here's Elliott in, Petty is in. Here's Dave Despain.
They are topping off Bill Elliott's gas tank. That's all they're doing is just shoving in that last gallon of fuel for the run to the finish, hoping that he'll be able to make up the difference being all the way at the tail end of the field. They made the stop with 1 lap to go, packed the fuel into the tank, made 3 stops under that yellow flag. Bill is at the tail end of the field, but with a fast car hoping to catch it.
The pit strategy is interesting. Dale Earnhardt shown on the board as the second position now, behind Terry Labonte with Ken Schrader third. Wallace is up to fourth, and Phil Parsons is fifth. An entirely different lineup on the board. Let's go back to Mike Joy in the pits.
Rusty Wallace just got some gas. Harold Elliott, team manager. Will it be enough to get him the distance?
God, Jerry, I don't know. Heck, our mileage has been up, down so much, I'm confused right now. I don't even know where we're at. We have run 44 green flag laps and only took 18 gallons. This time we only ran 43 and it was completely out. So we got to go 44 laps. So we'll just have to wait and see. I don't know.
Well, they've got a little bulge in the point lead. You can gamble a little bit, but there's Earnhardt right there, too.
Yeah, but dang, I hate for it to turn out this way. You know, had a good lead, and we were trying to get to a point where we could put on 4 tires, and knowing we were in good shape. That was the thing we were trying to do. Then came up 1 lap short on the fuel, and that just 2 weekends in a row, just I can't figure it out.
Well, they're about to restart. If we go green the rest of the way, some cars may run out. A caution flag would make all this planning a moot point. Everybody could come in for a splash.
Engine man Harold Elliott, car number 27 there. 159 will be the mark when they take the green.
Everybody's fingers are crossed on pit road.
Pace car is in. Labonte in front. Earnhardt in second as they draw away. Ken Schrader in third. Phil Parsons fourth. Jeff Bodine fifth. Brett Bodine sixth. Wallace seventh. Elliott eighth. Petty ninth. And Mike Alexander in the Bobby Allison car in 10th. 1 lap down as they resume the Michigan 400. Back straightaway. Inside, car number 3, indeed, Earnhardt for first place. Last year's winner trying to make it 2 in a row. That happens a lot around here. Elliott won it 3 years in a row. Cale won it 82, 83, 77, 78, and 69, 70. Have to come in pairs as it did for Pearson in 72 and 3, and 75 and 76.
The Chevrolets 1, 2, and 3 right now.
Labonte second. Schrader third. Jeff Bodine trying to hold on to fourth. Dale Earnhardt, defending Winston Cup champion, defending Michigan 400-mile winner in this $540,000 race by 2 car lengths.
And Richard Petty is way off the pace on the backstretch. He has slowed down. He'll be coming into the pits, perhaps.
From the Goodyear Blimp Enterprise, this amazing picture of this largest crowd in the history of Michigan 400. Down the main straightaway, headed for turn 1. Mike Waltrip is pitting. Dave Despain is standing by with Dale Inman.
As Richard Petty comes by on the front straightaway, Dale Inman watches him go, checking with Richard on the radio. What's the problem?
I guess we dropped the valve that last time on a restart or something. I don't know what happened, but when he got ready to go, it just wouldn't go. It's on 7 cylinders now.
Will he stay out?
Oh, yeah, we'll stay out long as it will, but, you know, he's about 43 laps going to be lucky to make it.
43 laps going to be a long way for number 43, Richard Petty, with a dropped valve. Ken?
Thank you, David. Earnhardt first, Labonte second. Here they are, out of turn number 4. And making a move on the inside is Schrader. Schrader's going for second spot.
Then when you draft, do you save fuel?
You can certainly save fuel when you draft, no question about it, and maybe Terry Labonte is doing a little bit of that right now.
Well, he's not now. He's pinned up on the outside. That'll use up some fuel.
It will, especially when they're running side by side. That'll give Dale Earnhardt an opportunity to pull away.
Wallace, they are reporting in the lead lap. Wallace able to make up that lap in the caution, came in, and with 3 caution periods, total of 12 laps. We'll check the average speed on the race shortly for you.
Wallace's car is still very strong. You can see him pull up on the outside of Kenny Schrader right behind Jeff Bodine as they come over turn 4. So he's going to be a man to contend with before this thing's over.
Wallace had them covered earlier. The question is that still the situation as the laps trickle down? 163 of 200 are now complete. NASCAR has just exercised the caution flag for the 4th time. This, I believe, for Brett Bodine in car number 15. The Bud Moore car running very slow on the bottom of the track. May have spread some oil or some parts around the... Sorry, number 15, Brett Bodine. Here he is, just coming onto pit road. After he had been making a pretty stout effort earlier, it's all over, and he becomes the 15th car to retire from the event, Brett Bodine.
And Michael Waltrip went out of the race here not too long ago. He's one of the 15.
That makes the 4th caution of the day. We've had 12 laps. This is the 13th so far in this race, and still they're very close to the record, Chris.
That's true, but that kills the chances for a record. It also takes the suspense away about fuel, because already...
Here's Mike.
Jeff Bodine will get fuel, and they're going to take the time for right side tires. Now Earnhardt's car still out on the racetrack. Bodine, for him and Bill Elliott, it means they can go the distance without another stop. Fuel is no longer a question. You see those left side lug nuts are already off before the tire changer comes around to the left side of the car. That new little wrinkle in pit stop technology introduced this year saves some 2 seconds on a 4-tire change. Bodine is gone. Let's go to Dave Despain.
Bill Elliott put in 1 gallon of fuel on the pit stop. The pit stop was 3 seconds. They looked at the tires. The jack was there. They decided not to change them. They packed in 1 gallon of fuel and sent Bill Elliott back on his way.
Oh, the precious nectar for the engine.
Dale Earnhardt, number 3, stays out in front. He's in kind of a tough spot, isn't he?
Well, he is. However, he feels that he has enough fuel to go the rest of the way, and apparently he's happy with the tires that are on the car now. But Rusty Wallace had come through the pack and had chased him down and was right on his bumper before this caution came out. Rusty seemed to have the fastest car on the racetrack. Let's go back to the pits and Mike Joy.
Well, here's former driver and Winston Cup champion car owner Richard Childress. You've left Dale Earnhardt on the racetrack.
Well, it's a gamble. You know, we think we can make it. You know, with these cautions, that'll give us the cushion that we needed. We were going to be about 1 lap short, but we feel with these cautions now that we'll, you know, it'll be right on the money. You know, you got to gamble in this business.
Have you run this long on 1 tank of fuel today?
Yeah, we ran out on 43 laps.
Good luck. He's talking to his driver right now as they get set for 1 more lap, and we're back to green flag racing.
What do you think, Ned?
Well, I think you can make it. I really do. As we see Mike Alexander, Mark Martin, and several others coming in to cap theirs off to be sure that they'll make it. But I believe that Dale Earnhardt and Rusty Wallace will be able to make it. But now they're going to be racing awfully hard from here on out.
Jeff Bodine is a factor here. He's going to be in that mix, and I wonder how hard he will race Dale Earnhardt. They were both sat down by NASCAR President Bill France and told to drive like good boys on the track, and it's going to come right down to the wire here, and I can think it'll be pretty difficult to be good boys when they're door handle to door handle.
Making some adjustments on Mike Alexander's car.
That's what Jimmy Finnick, the crew chief on the car, was doing, reaching inside and making a weight shift on the car to try to get it to go through the corners a little bit better.
This could be a lengthy stop. I'm watching one of those big power push brooms being brought out here across the start-finish line down pit road, and I wonder if they got something to pick up out there, or if they're just going back to a location.
That'll favor Earnhardt because the amount of fuel you use running at slow speeds like this is far less than you use at top speed.
From the Goodyear Blimp Enterprise, beautiful picture of the cars in the back straightaway here, and those Irish green hills are gold this year, and it's fool's gold, as they've had a drought situation in this part of the country that has really created havoc for the farmers. I think we're a lap away from a start.
We're half a lap away.
It's been a disappointing visit to Michigan. There's been no strawberries to take home this year.
Okay, they should get the green flag as they come off of turn 4. The pace car pulling into the pits, and there's the Goodyear Blimp.
Field coming down. Pace car is in. Georgia Pacific Golf is next on CBS Live this afternoon. On the break, Rusty Wallace lies second. Behind Dale Earnhardt. Goes into turn number 1. Will he just allow that Pontiac to draft off the back end of the Chevrolet, or is he ready to charge? We'll know momentarily. Coming to speed, Schrader third, Elliott fourth, Jeff Bodine fifth, Terry Labonte is in sixth, Phil Parsons seventh, Mike Alexander in eighth. Phil Parsons Mike Alexander a lap down in eighth, Buddy Baker ninth, Bobby Hill in 10th, Cale is 11th, Waltrip is 12th, Ricky Rudd 13th, Ken Bouchard 14th. At speed.
When they cross the stripe this time, it will be 30 laps to go.
Tremendous wash of sound as they pour it on into turn number 1 for the largest crowd in Michigan International Speedway history, building toward another typical Winston Cup dramatic finish. As we watch Dale Earnhardt, winner of 33 Winston Cup events, some $7.5 million, leading the back straightaway. Rusty Wallace, the man who's trying to take his title away from him. Earnhardt, the national champion for the last 2 years. The current point leader, Rusty Wallace, tucked right in behind, roosting on the back end of the man in black, car number 3.
They've been playing practical jokes on each other all year long, but this is serious time now.
Like what?
Well, like at Darlington, Earnhardt put some sardines in the seat of Rusty Wallace's car.
Right.
You can imagine what the smell would have been after that car got heated up. Or in the seat, I should have said the floorboard.
There we go on the backstretch. Wallace to the inside, the white and green, number 27. Raymond Beadle's car, the Blue Max Racing Team, goes for it against the Richard Childress, number 3. Pontiac against Chevrolet. Pontiac going into first place as they hit turn number 3. Fading a little, and here comes Earnhardt, slamming it down to the inside, nearly touching. Wallace gathers it back. They did touch. Incredible racing.
Can you call that just racing, Ned?
Well, I guess so. They're good friends, but they don't mind mixing it up a little bit. They did touch there, but fortunately it didn't cause any major problem for them.
Schrader dives to the inside. The red number 25 going into second spot. Ken Schrader now into second. Sandwiched in among them, Buddy Baker, number 88, a lap down, and here comes number 3, back another time. Earnhardt on the inside of Schrader, back straightaways where the action is.
And look at Jeff Bodine shoot up through there. He picks up the draft of Earnhardt, passes Schrader, moves up on the outside of Dale Earnhardt. Boy, he is on the move. Chris, you said he'd be a factor.
Chevrolets, and here they are, the adversaries. 3, Earnhardt on the inside, the yellow, white, and brown. Car number 5 on the outside.
Now let's all watch and see who touches who here.
And look at Bill Elliott come on the inside, making it 3 deep going into turn 1.
Clean as a whistle. Just driving right through. Bodine on the outside. Bill Elliott getting into it now. He's coming up. You can't wait and draft. You've got to go for it as Rusty Wallace in number 27 again is setting the pace.
Boy, that number 27 car is really hooked up for this racetrack today. I've never seen a car so right for a given racetrack as this one.
5 Winston Cup victories for Rusty Wallace in his career, stretching for 6 here at Michigan. They talked about switching to Hoosiers on the last round instead of taking 8,400 RPMs on that engine if they did so. Let's go to Dave Despain.
Richard Petty is sitting here trying to fire the engine. We saw last week at Pocono that there's still plenty of fire in Richard's driving, but he right now is out of fire in the engine, and they're working hard to get it started. He says, I think we're just goofing off here, but now they are seriously intent on getting the engine to fire, and I'm not going to interrupt the man right now because he is paying very close attention to what's going on under that hood. He wants to get back out on the racetrack. He wants to take this checkered flag.
Come on out and win one, Richard. 15 laps, not today, however. Here's the story. As we watch Bodine around Elliott in number 9 and then Earnhardt in the black number 3. And who are they chasing? They're chasing the white and green number 27. And there you see him by his lonesome, prowling up in front on this 2-mile track. To the inside, car number 9, Elliott, shooting through for second place. Ford on the inside, Chevrolet on the outside. Dandy racing here today in Michigan, live on CBS.
I've never seen better.
And Earnhardt, he doesn't know which one to follow through. They're running side by side. Now he decides to go behind the car number 9 of Bill Elliott because he looks like he might be the one that gets through, and he indeed does.
Quickly to Mike Joy.
Harold Elliott, is Rusty Wallace, is he using up too much gas running way out there all by himself?
Well, since we don't know how much gas mileage we're getting, we may as well just go for it. Heck, you know, I don't know, Jerry, this thing's been, it's got to be buffaloed. We're supposed to be pretty smart. I don't know, you know, I don't know what to say. We're going to go for the win anyway. We're going to leave him out there and go for the best. If it runs out, I guess it'll be my butt.
Well, he's the team manager, so it's all on his shoulders right now. No fuel gauges in these cars. They do have a fuel pressure gauge. When that starts to drop or bounce around, the driver knows it's time to get in here. Rusty hopes that won't have to happen today.
And no speedometer. We got time to look at a speedometer, they say. As they used to say in your day, Ned, you're not going fast enough. That's Rusty true. Wallace continues to show the way. Is he going fast enough? We'll know shortly. 400-mile, $450,000 event. Terry Labonte was then leading. Earnhardt was second. Schrader third. Taking a look at the second group, there is Brett Bodine in 6th. He has since retired. Mike Alexander still in the hunt. And back in the 15th position, you see Alan Kulwicki, who qualified well. So those were the standings at 300 miles. We are now 181 laps in. There are 19 laps left to go.
And Bill Elliott is closing in on Rusty Wallace. Just a few laps ago, he was about 1 6/10 seconds behind. He has closed it down to about 1 2/10 seconds.
So 0.2 of a second a lap. He's picking up on the leader, car number 27, Rusty Wallace. There's Wallace, your leader, in the Pontiac. The Ford Thunderbird, and Bill Elliott is closing, and there he is. And Terry Labonte is maintaining third in the number 11. That's the current standings you're looking at now. Fourth is Earnhardt, and fifth Bodine.
Well, Jeff Bodine jumped up into second place very quickly when the green flag re-waved, but since then he has dropped back a little bit to the 5th position. Now, Rusty Wallace picked up a little bit the last time around on the car number 9 of Bill Elliott, so I don't know, maybe they're playing a little cats and game match out there.
In 1988, no one has won a super speedway race from the pole. Elliott making a bid, but he has to get by the 27 to pull it off. Wallace, 5-time winner, has collected $2 million since he started in 1980 in Winston Cup racing. Really got serious in 1984. He is leading. This could be his first true super speedway victory. He's won on the road courses. 1 2/10?
That 1 2/10 seconds. That's what he's behind right now. That's Bill Elliott behind Rusty Wallace. So he is gradually picking up on it.
Richard Petty is back on the track and running once again.
So is Dale Jarrett after spending a lot of time in the pits for repairs on his car after he spun out.
Chris Economaki is headed down to victory lane. With whom will he be talking? Wallace, Elliott. Let's not forget Terry Labonte still in third.
And Labonte did take on 4 new tires during that last caution period. Bill Elliott still at 1.2 seconds, exactly the same distance as the time before.
It would take mechanical difficulties by the 2 leaders, Wallace and Elliott, to give Labonte a shot. Could happen. Wallace's are a great racing family out of Missouri, and he is one very personable guy. There's the interval, and Elliott is really mowing them down.
Well, he does, especially when they go down the backstretch. He seems to really gain on him in that position as Alan Kulwicki comes back in the pits. But as he come off of turn 4, Rusty's car seems to get off of there just a little bit better. And whatever Elliott gains on the backstretch, it seems that maybe he loses here, but maybe not this time. Here he is, and there's Elliott. Yes, 1 second flat.
15 laps to go. 15 laps to go and about a 15-lap interval. What does Dan Elliott think of this?
Let's find out. Dan Elliott, your man seems to be stable interval right now, not catching him. Can he catch him?
Yeah, we're hoping the car will really stay consistent and we're able to run Rusty down. We're running just as hard as we can run, and I hope Bill can do it.
Are you saying Wallace is going to have to back up to you?
Well, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that we're just going to have to either catch up or be consistent enough that he slows down a little bit and we're able to catch up.
He told us earlier today that luck is what's helped him win all these races here. You guys got any luck left for Michigan?
If it is, I hope we get a share of it, too.
That's Dan Elliott, Bill's brother. They've all got their fingers crossed here, but right now the situation is unchanged, and the interval is stable, first to second.
Not that stable. From 1 second now to 7/10 of a second between first place Wallace and second place Bill Elliott. We'll be back with more live coverage of the Michigan 400 after this word from your local station. As we watch live the Michigan 400, it is the Atlanta Golf Classic. Stay tuned to CBS for live sports action throughout this Sunday. And watch now as we get down to the last 10 laps this time by to decide this $450,000 battle between the white and green Pontiac, Rusty Wallace, stretching it out, trying to win his first super speedway victory, and Bill Elliott, who has won here in 1984, 1985, 1986. 2 very anxious crews on pit road. There's the Elliott crew, Dan Elliott, Ernie and the whole gang, and the Wallace crew standing eagerly by, hoping they can go to victory lane. And here we are back down across the stripe as the laps trickle away. 190 are complete, Ned. And the man who looks like he has the power going right now is the Ford. In second place, Elliott.
Yes, it does look like he has run him down from almost 2 seconds back to right on his back bumper. So he does seem to have the power. He's able to pick up the draft now and generate even a little bit more power. But let's remember, both of them have used a lot of gas. However, Bill Elliott did make a pit stop during that last caution, and Rusty Wallace did not.
So we were mentioning to you a bit earlier here, in the super speedways this year, taking the pole is not giving you an advantage in winning a race. If Elliott wins, he would have won 7 of the last races at MIS. Third place is still Terry Labonte in car number 11. Right with him is Dale Earnhardt in the number 4, last year's winner of the event. They're running well off the pace of those two leaders. Back with the leaders, and Elliott draws ever closer. 192 this time by. Largest crowd in Michigan history, gathering themselves for another dramatic finish.
Well, catching a fellow is one thing, passing him is another. And Rusty Wallace certainly won't give up easy. Bill Elliott will have to really earn it if he does get a race.
But if there's one track that favors you to make the pass, it is Michigan.
Yes. The wide turns here, as well as the drafting effect.
Turn 1. 10 car lengths, less than that, between Elliott and the man he's chasing down, Rusty Wallace. What a dandy race we've had.
There are 3 two-car battles going on, one for first and second, and then the battle for third and fourth between Terry Labonte and Dale Earnhardt, and a little farther behind them are the cars of Jeff Bodine and Ken Schrader battling for fifth and sixth.
Back in 7th is Phil Parsons, left out in 8th is Darrell Waltrip, 9th is Cale Yarborough, 10th is Mike Alexander, 11th is Ricky Rudd, 12th is Bobby Hillin, and 13th is Buddy Baker, 2 laps down. Well, Elliott's there. Is he waiting, or is that what it is?
I don't know. It might be that he'll want to wait till the last lap and try to make his pass. But I think that he'll probably test him out once or so before then. He moves right up on him as they go into turn 3. Rusty's car still working very well on the low side of the racetrack. He might be a tough man to pass as good as that car has been working.
Out of turn 4. 194 complete. Elliott manipulating the draft after this dazzling display by Rusty Wallace.
Well, Rusty will gain an extra 5-point bonus today, Ken, because he just has led over 100 laps, so that certainly is more than all other drivers combined here today, and there is a 5-point bonus for the driver who leads the most laps in a race.
Really torturing those cars now. Whatever they have, you've got to give all. Wallace leading 3 car lengths. Elliott stays stabilized right there in that second spot. Labonte and Earnhardt have their own thing going, but all eyes are glued right here as we finish our live fly-to-fly coverage on CBS of the 20th annual Michigan 400. And there are 5 laps to go. On the radio, Ernie Elliott talking to his brother Bill.
Ken, I believe that Bill just caught him and is content to sit there and ride behind him, keep his tires as cool as he possibly can, and then try to make the pass. With maybe 2 laps to go, maybe he'll wait till the last lap. Fingers are crossed on pit road.
Rusty Wallace's mother looking on. She remembers him out of the days of sprint car racing and stock car racing in the Midwest. Moved into Winston Cup. And what a grand addition this young man has been. Here's Bill Elliott down in Dawsonville, Georgia, in the pool hall. They're getting the old fire system ready to work one more time and sing out the word that Elliott has again taken victory at Michigan, as he did for 3 years before Dale Earnhardt stopped him cold a year ago. Back straightaway. You a betting man, Ned?
Well, I've been known to, but I'll tell you right now, I wouldn't want to put too much on the line on either one of these drivers, because Rusty's car is just, it looks like it's on a rail when it goes around the turns, and that's a tough car to pass. Now, Bill Elliott has a lot of horsepower, and he can use the effect of the draft, but I don't know if he has enough or not. And again, maybe he's just sitting there riding. He's going to have to make that move before too long, so certainly we'll know here in a few moments.
Bill Elliott, who has amassed some $7 million with his 25 victories, wanting so much to win this one today. Don't forget, final round, Georgia Pacific Atlanta Golf Classic is next on CBS Sports.
Now, Ken, if he has anything left, he's going to have to move right up on his back bumper as they come around this time to get, what, 2 laps to go as they come around. He's got to get closer than he is right now if he's going to pass in these last 2 laps.
Bill Elliott, the master of superspeedway racing in this modern decade. He has 25 wins, 24 of them on a superspeedway.
Now, how about the fuel in the car number 27? Does he have enough to go? He's got to be sweating it. So has his crew chief and the whole crew down there right now.
Anxiousness on pit road. Drama all around this 2-mile track as Rusty Wallace and Bill Elliott sort out this $540,000 race.
They say, you can tell by the look on their face, they don't believe that it can catch him unless Rusty runs out of gas. He's too far behind. He needed to move up closer the last time around if he could, and I don't believe that he could. They'll get the white flag this time around.
Harold Kinder has the white flag in hand as Bill Elliott lies in second. Coming down, it's about to be thrown. It's down, and we're in the last lap. Going into turn number 1 for Rusty Wallace. His heart is probably beating at a rate that couldn't be captured on any kind of EKG.
Boy, he's saying a prayer, please give me enough fuel just to go down this back stretch and accelerate off of turn 4.
Elliott closing in. Elliott moving up another car length. It has been a wonderful race. Only one small incident. That was when Dale Jarrett spun in turn number 3. We've only had 4 cautions. And some mechanical failures. Here they come for 3 and 4. Driving for the finish. Down they come. Elliott trying to pull up. Rusty Wallace staying in front. Coming to the line. Rusty Wallace has defeated Bill Elliott by a margin of about 24/100ths of a second. Battle for third coming to the line. It will be Terry Labonte over Dale Earnhardt in 4th. And in 5th, it will be car number 5, Bodine, in front of his teammate from the Hendricks stable, Ken Schrader. What a dandy race. Rusty Wallace leads the point battle by 130 points over Dale Earnhardt. Bill Elliott is 3rd behind Wallace. In St. Louis, there's going to be some celebrating today.
Well, that's what it's all about. This is Rusty Wallace's first super speedway victory. He has 2 short track victories in 1986, 2 road course victories in 1987, and then a road course victory so far this year. Oh, she's going to get an opportunity to talk to her son before he gets back.
That was Raymond Beadle, the great world drag racing champion, hugging her for just a moment, the owner of this team.
Oh, fantastic. I didn't hear him, no.
Press this button right here on top of the thing here. Just press that down when you want to talk.
Way to go, Rusty! That one's for the folks back in St. Louis.
Victory lane for Rusty Wallace. First super speedway win, 3 in a row on the road courses. Brilliant short track racer out of the American Speed Association for some time and out of the USAC ranks. Moved up to Winston Cup racing. And what a marvelous performance he's given today. Chris Economaki will be standing by to talk with an elated Rusty Wallace about this magnificent performance that they have pulled off today. Barry Dotson, the crew chief on this car, and that entire organization have a real right to be proud of the way they performed. And what a marvelous, as we mentioned earlier, June they've had. Ever since Charlotte, North Carolina, this team has become stronger and stronger, and they really today prove they have all the makings to take the Winston Cup Championship for 1988. Unstrapping.
You got it, baby. Right on it.
Let's go to the man himself, Chris Economaki, with the man of the day, Rusty Wallace.
Congratulations, Rusty. What was going through your mind in those last few laps?
Bill Elliott was breathing down your neck like that.
Well, Chris, I just had to keep running hard all day long and just keep doing what we did the best and just run hard. I tell you, the Kodiak Pontiac Mobil 1 AC Spark Plug car ran excellent all day long, and I'll tell you what, I'd like to dedicate this race to Bobby Allison, my best friend, sitting in the hospital, and this is for him. I wish he was here with us.
Rusty, you had trouble. You ran out of fuel. Did you ever think you could win it after that long stop that left you so far behind?
Well, Chris, I knew the car was real tough, and I knew the guys were eager after that happened. We were having fuel mileage problems all day long, but they pulled from behind and got it straightened out for me. I asked them again if they were positive we had enough fuel to go that last run, and they were. And so we just kept going, and the car ran good. The Goodyear tires worked good today. They took me on home, and they were really a super tire today. And I just like to thank everybody involved in it. And second win of the year, and it's looking good for the points now.
First super speedway victory, Rusty. What does that mean for you?
It really does. It means a lot, Chris. But I mean, if everybody remembers, I've led these things numerous times, just never have gotten to victory lane, and finally it happened today at one of my favorite fellas tracks, Roger Penske. So I feel grateful.
You know, Rusty, over the years, there's always one car that's better on a given day than another. And this number 27 was a superb machine today. It was driven superbly. But what made the car so much better?
It's the whole thing, Chris. I've been telling everybody all year long, it's our team. It's the unity of the team. It's Barry Dotson, Jimmy Makar, Harold Elliott, David Evans back at the race shop who builds the engines, the whole motor crew, and everybody. We all work together. There's nobody in this team that has an ego problem. We all pull together, and if we're down, we're all down, and we all work to get back up.
How are you going to celebrate, Rusty?
I'm going to drink this can of Miller right now.
Okay, that's it from Victory Lane, and winner Rusty Wallace.
Real good. Radio.
Rusty Wallace has done it, finally won on a super speedway, and you may be looking at the face of the man who will win the national championship this year. He defeated one of the best super speedway racers of all time, Bill Elliott, and Terry Labonte hung in there for third, while Dale Earnhardt was relegated to fourth, and Jeff Bodine finished in fifth. We'll have more of the details of this 20th annual Michigan 400 following these messages.